Alrighty, everybody. Welcome on into the Central Committee stream with your host, Mike from PA. We are live once again. And what a day. What a fucking day. I want to say that obviously I was right. Like, there's really no doubt. You can, come on. Couple things. One, we've learned how irrelevant the people who went after Graham Platner from the left actually are. And that's something that is like, when I say from the left, they're not really from the left. They're from the grifter left, which is like, oh yeah, we should give up the Senate to Susan Collins because this guy, he's saying everything I want him to say, but I'm going to have him be defeated because Zionist smear campaigns are going against him. Like, that position has literally nobody supporting it. Absolutely nobody supporting it. And you have to ask yourself, why does a 70-year-old grandma in Maine got better political instincts than people that talk about politics every single day? Like, what's going on here? I also want to talk about the Chris Rabb situation. Because I think it's actually really illustrative of a couple things. The first is I love Chris Rabb. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. However, I will say that if you're a millennial or a Gen X and you're a left winger and you've been a left winger for 15, 20 years, a lot of us have woke one brain. I'm just going to be completely honest with you. A lot of us have woke one brain. And we're behind the times. Like, that's just legit. And there are a lot of people that are, like, for example, in Hassan's community that have woke one brain, Tumblr brain, whatever you want to call it. And I think AOC suffers from this condition as well. And it's a big problem. It's a big problem. If we actually want to exercise power, we got to be better than that. You know, we got to be better than that. Now, on the other hand, like, I think Graham Platner is going to be okay. All right. I think he's going to be okay. It seems like the people of Maine are 100% behind him and they've got their shit together. That being said, we as a movement need to get a little bit tougher. There's a very famous letter that Lenin wrote. And at the very end of it, during the Russian Revolution, he put, P.S. find tougher people. That's the part. That's where we're at. We need to find tougher people. We need people that are a little bit more inoculated against this bad faith id poll attacks. We need people that are a little bit more inoculated against, like, worried about being seen as not the most moral and upright person. We need bloody minded killers in our movement. It's time for the end of woke one. And honestly, like, again, it doesn't mean I still don't think Chris Rabb is amazing. And I don't really have any harsh criticism against him. I just think that strategy of holding space for obviously bad faith accusers who are literally operatives of a foreign state that's committing genocide is ridiculous. Like, I'll give you an example. I'm going to draw up a scenario and I want you to imagine it in your mind. Nazi Germany is rounding up Jews, but there is a German-American Bund, the German-American Bund, which was basically Nazi Germany's AIPAC, and a fierce anti-fascist candidate is running for office in America. And then a leading member of the German-American Bund makes an obviously bad faith smear against this candidate. Would it make sense for fellow anti-fascists to be like, you know, we've got to hold space for the Nazi? Like, what are we saying? What are we doing? It's nonsense. It's garbage. And nobody is impressed by it. In fact, you lose a lot of credit with regular people because they want fighters, not people that are going to be intimidated or pushed down or tricked by bad faith attacks. What's the difference between woke one and woke two? Woke one is liberal. Woke one is all about how you present. Woke one is all about how people think of you. Woke one is about building yourself a comfort stream or comfort space. Woke one is about academic terminology and policing and an inquisitorial like desire to find the secret conservatives, right? That's woke one. Woke two is consequentialist. Woke two is, what is it going to cause the policies to be. Woke 2 is about achieving change in the world for all of us, not just for the personal branding of some influencer. It's less about your Tumblr page and more about laws and power. That's the difference between woke 1 and woke 2. They have the same goals, well, supposedly, but woke 1 is focused on the individual and woke 2 is focused on the collective. I am proudly woke 2. I don't think we're going to get liberation and anti-racism by flogging already convinced liberals in social media. You know what I mean? I think we're going to get liberation by seizing state power and smashing the right. So those are the two differences, you know? That's the difference. Did you see that spooky, scary communist was posting anti-Platner slop? What happened to him? I mean, everybody who posts anti-Platner slop is embarrassing. And by the way, I mean, it is what it is. We're bored. You have to understand, like, a lot of people are fucking bored. It's a boring time in politics. It's fucking summer. What do you want me to say? We have a couple primaries. There's not that much as far as like electoral politics, there's only a couple things to talk about. It's not November where we're gonna, you know what I mean? Where there's like 80 different campaigns and all sorts of stuff happening and everybody's rushing around the country. It's like we got a couple things at a time. We talk them to death and it gets boring, right? That's really what happens. And then it's the summer. People want to go outside. They want to live their lives. It is what it is. In politics, really, people don't think politics really, the attention to politics doesn't really kick in till Labor Day. That's the truth. There will definitely be another race where they attack the next DSA candidate for a bunch of shit. We should prep for that during downtime. I mean, of course, it's going to be everybody. It doesn't matter if you're squeaky clean, they'll say you showed up at a protest or had a tweet where you said ACAB or whatever the fuck. It doesn't, and all of it will be treated the same. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's about the policies. We found a Mills voter. By the way, in case you didn't know, Graham Platner won an earth-shattering landslide. Let's get into that.
NBC News can now report that oyster farmer and Marine Corps veteran Graham Platner has been projected to be the Democratic nominee in the Maine Senate race. He defeated incumbent Governor Janet Mills, who suspended her campaign back in April. And in South Carolina, the Republican primary for the governor's mansion is going to go to a runoff on June 23rd between Lieutenant Governor Pamela Yvette, endorsed by President Trump, and State AG Alan Wilson. Also in that state, we can project that Senator Lindsey Graham will avoid a runoff after facing a primary challenge from businessman Mark Lynch. Also earlier tonight, we projected the latest out of last week.
Yeah, chat, Steyer bros, it doesn't look like it's gonna happen. Steyer did well in the cities, but he did really poorly in some of the rural areas. And Becerra picked up a lot of votes in heavily Hispanic areas that Steyer needed. And, I think California is the only state in the country where id poll works.
California gubernatorial race, Republican Steve Hilton now projected to advance to the primary race for.
So Steyer bros feels bad, but it looks like he's probably not going to make it. Damn. Now, a lot of the kind of like the Badapanada Zionist centrist neoliberal alliance on Blue Sky, they came up with a candidate to vote for as a write-in candidate called Andrea LaFlame. And it looks like they managed to get 781 write-in votes. Now, I want to tell you something, chat. That when I won the Democratic primary, when I was running for state legislator, I did a write-in campaign as well. I got more votes. But I won the primary as a write-in candidate. But I got a lot more votes. Incredible. Did you think there was a shot for Dem Annie Andrews to upset Lindsey Graham, or is South Carolina still too red? Oh, you didn't lose me. I was just thinking about what makes a person likable. What things can I do that are easy, even though they're slightly annoying, and take a minor amount of self-control? What are those things that I could do to be more likable? That's what I started thinking about when I got asked that question. Anyway, and so I've decided that I'm going to attempt to pursue that. I'll never understand why Maine would vote for Platner so overwhelmingly, and then the likely winner of the primary is the Mills endorsed governor candidate, because the progressives did not run in the Maine, the governor. Basically, I'll tell you what happened. That's a interesting question for a first-time chatters. Thank you for offering a good question. So anyway, politics is necessarily, to answer the question, so I'm going to answer both those questions because they're both good in their own ways. The first is, I am a believer in a 50-state strategy, right? I think that you should never completely abandon anywhere, and that an effective politics is one that will appeal to everywhere. However, there is something known as triage. And in order to understand where we should be placing our time and our effort, your voice doesn't help. I think my voice is fine. It's not bad. My voice isn't bad. My voice is fine. SC election results are pretty interesting. The difference between the Dem and Rep winners for governor and Senate are pretty close. I would say that South Carolina is probably in the bottom 5 states for flippability. So if South Carolina is flipping, that would mean like a 450 electoral college level victory. It seems like you're more interested in being intellectually stimulated rather than passion for teaching others. You're quick to call someone stupid when they say something wrong. No, although I do agree that is I think there's something to that, although I disagree. I like to teach others. I do like to teach others, but what your misunderstanding is, it's not that I like calling people stupid, it's that I want you to demand more of yourself. And I think a lot of people are coddled, especially online, and they're treated as if their like deficits are like totally normal and like respectable and it's okay. And that is a strategy to manipulate you. And I think you're better than that. Like I legitimately think you're better than that. I want you to have self-respect. If you don't know something relatively basic, that should be a embarrassing fact for you. And you should want to fix that. I want you to have like higher standards for yourself. Some people are extremely type B, and so whenever you try to tell them they need to have higher standards and you expect more, they fucking rebel, which it is what it is. Okay. And so I have higher standards for you. That being said, you're right. Calling people stupid is unnecessary when they're asking questions, right? Like that. I don't want to do that. Do you think the percentage would look like if Mills did openly say she's done campaigning? The same. The reason why Janet Mills dropped out is because she was going to be humiliated. And a sitting governor getting less than 20% of the vote to an oyster farmer with no political experience is a world historic landslide. I need you guys to understand something here. What Graham Platner has done is probably one of the most impressive victories in American history. This isn't just winning. This is a landslide that I don't know of many historical comparisons. Like, I don't know what to say. Maybe off for saying what the person said is stupid. Nah, you don't need to say that. Stupid is whenever you throw out an insult, it's an emotional regulation problem, right? Like most of the time. So that's how we're gonna look at it going forward. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so This is like world historic victory. So we'll talk about the Platner thing. Let me answer those questions that I was asked earlier and then didn't get around to answering. So listen, I don't consider South Carolina races important at all, and I pretty much ignore them. However, I'm willing to have my mind changed if you can bring me multiple credible polls showing the race within the margin of error. Then I will reevaluate my priors. But right now, I got to tell you, states like South Carolina, I just don't spend any time paying attention to because they're not going to happen, right? Like that's my current view. Now, it doesn't mean it can't. It's not that it's impossible, but I would need to be given more information to evaluate that because South Carolina is one of the most Republican states in the country. So the odds of South Carolina flipping are incredibly low. That makes sense? We good? Okay. What was the other question? Oh, about the governor's race. So what happened is Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party cleared the field for Janet Mills. They wanted Janet Mills to not really have any challenge. And so when Janet Mills didn't have any challenge, Graham Platner was able to challenge her because there was no one else. So all of the Democratic Party establishment candidates all the Democratic Party politicians, they acted like good little soldiers and they piled into the governor's race. And so Graham Platner was able to have a one-on-one progressive versus establishment contest because all the Maine Democrats played ball. And that's why we were able to have a conversation about ideas. Would you agree that Maine and North Carolina are the most flippable seats for Dems? Maine is the #1 target. Maine is #1 most flippable seat for Dems. Michigan is an open seat, previously held by a Democrat, so that's extremely high priority as well. North Carolina is a red twinged purple state, which means it's winnable in a blue wave year. But on kind of like on a neutral year, it's going to trend Republican, so it's very important. Ohio is a red state, but has a very strong progressive candidate with a lot of labor. Now, I got my problems with Sherrod Brown. He's significantly to the right, but he's more left than he's an anti-Wall Street pro-labor candidate. So he tends to overperform, and he's got high name recognition. And, so he's doing very well in Ohio against a very weak Republican candidate. So Ohio is a very likely flip, is a toss-up. But yeah, if we don't win Maine, then AOC's presidency will probably be a failure. Like even if we got everything we wanted, if we don't win this Maine seat, then it'll probably be a failure because we're not going to be able to do anything. So in order for our country not to completely fail into Republican fascism, we have to basically draw to the inside straight and hit. And that includes winning every single winnable seat this cycle, flipping a couple more seats in 2028 that are on a little bit friendlier territory, and win with a progressive candidate for president and hold the House. And then when we get into power, actually pass laws to fix the broken gerrymandering electoral system, pack the Supreme Court, all that kind of shit, just to get ourselves into a maneuvering space where the system isn't so unbelievably biased against democracy. We're kind of on like a very thin, we're walking on a mountain path, and off to the right is 1,000-foot drop, and to the left is sheer cliff. We don't have any maneuver space. And I feel like a lot of people are underestimating just how bad things are. And the reason, and it's not just because it's about electoral politics. It's also the other material conditions surrounding American society. We have a weak organized labor movement. We don't have any anti-hegemonic groups or forces that are capable of resisting the state. We don't have a major rupture, whether it be in the economy or some other like social condition that is challenging the power of the state. Like, we are in near fascist consolidation. The reason why electoral politics is so important in this moment is that all the other material conditions surrounding it are so poor for the left. And I feel like not being able to evaluate that and understand that, and instead just doing some like anarchist cope about sudden rupture to ignore the reality that the electoral politics valiant is incredibly important right now, is very stupid. And I'm calling that stupid intentionally. All right, let's watch Graham Platner's Graham Platner wins elections. Election result, Graham Platner landslide. Now, the thing I need to ask people are, have the anti-Platner people ever watched Graham Platner say anything? When they talk about Graham Platner, do they ever actually listen to Graham Platner in any way? Do they ever like watch the guy? Serious question. If you could give me an example of the anti-Graham Platner people watching actual videos or speeches of Graham Platner, I would like to see that. Also, they don't know Maine is such a good slogan. Graham Platner has made the attacks on him not just attacks on him, but attacks on Maine by outsiders, which is actually true.
boy. Oh. Well, thank you, Maine. Thank you all very much. I want to thank my mom and my dad.
Okay, the audio sucks absolute ass. We're gonna move on to better audio. Sorry. That wasn't his audio. That was the audio of the local news. Mike, the audio pervert. Okay, what I need you to understand is that audio. If you want a suggestion, you have to have a bare minimum level of audio for anything to be watchable. That's not audio pervert. That's called being normal.
Will you be a lousy scab or will you be a man?
Oh boy. Oh. Well, thank you, man. Thank you all very much. I want to thank my mom and my dad, who have loved me unconditionally for 41 years, even when it wasn't. If you believe, as I do, that we can change our politics, then you must also believe that people. And the reason I believe that is because and the reason that I have lived it is because of my wife. Amy, 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 Amy. Amy Jane, you are my best friend and the love of my, and thank you. Over the last 9 months, I have seen Mainers come together behind a vision to take back our power from corporations and billionaires. I love every single one of you, who has shown up at a town hall, who has knocked on a door, who cast their vote, not for me, but for a vision of a life in Maine that you can afford. A life of dignity and a government that actually serves. I want to thank our incredible campaign team and all 15,000 volunteers. You have built the most powerful grassroots movement in the history of this state. This is because of you. And when we finally defeat Susan Collins, that will be because of you too. You don't just believe in a different kind of politics. You have dedicated your time and your talent. It is a service to our state and to our nation. And thank you. I also want to thank Governor Janet Mills for a lifetime of service to a state that we both love. We are eternally grateful. And any of those who feel let down or disappointed or disillusioned, it is my job to earn your trust, faith, and support. And I will spend every day of this campaign and the privilege every day in the United States Senate doing exactly that. It is deeply humbling to stand here as your Democratic nominee. It is an honor, and I will not let you down. Until recently, I thought that Harbor Master would be the height of my political. It now appears that things have changed. But it's funny, this morning was a normal one. I woke up in my home, just a few doors down from I grew up in.
Mike from it's Mike from FA Fight Agency. Parasocial cheerleaders for rape and murder loving imperialist trash. Once again, you national socialist grifters are sure to know how to funnel other Ameritards into being controlled opposition. Actually, ironically, ironically, you are the controlled opposition. Like, I know it's funny to sling the accusations back and forth, but like, let's imagine that what I want happens, right? AOC wins the presidency, Graham Platner wins the presidency, all these, you know, Claire Valdez wins, you know, Graham Platner wins the Senate, sorry, AOC wins the presidency, Claire Valdez wins, you know, Oliver Larkin wins, all the anti-imperialist AOC, DSA aligned candidates win, and then we stop giving money to Israel. We support the ICC's investigations. We withdraw sanctions on ICC prosecutors. We lift the sanctions on Cuba. We end the wars in Iran. We pass Medicare for all. America invests $1 trillion into renewable energy and climate change. Let's just imagine that everything I want happens, right? Let's imagine, okay, that's what happens in my best case scenario. Your best case scenario is the left implodes into different factions, because obviously not everyone's going to agree with you, right? Like, so the left implodes into a bunch of like different factions, and we all call each other secret liberal Zionists. All of the left-aligned politicians in America lose. Donald Trump is empowered. Further, he invades Cuba. He invades or does even more crimes all throughout the Middle East. He helps support fascist governments, overthrowing left-wing, even center-left governments, pink-tide governments all throughout Latin America. Like, what is going to happen here? Like, there's like, we doubles down on like fossil fuels. He takes over Greenland. He intimidates Canada. Like, what exactly is the dream here that you're fighting for? You don't have you have nothing. You're a fucking idiot. You got grifted. You got grifted by an ugly, unintelligent, white Australian man who lives as a digital nomad in Malays, Argentina. Like, that's fucking hilarious, dude. Holy shit. Who makes, I mean, I guess you got one guy making 6 figures off of that grift. Like, holy shit. So, again, and by the way, all of this, there's nothing funnier than white leftists calling other people white. Like, that's the essence of the kind of like grifter YouTube left. You're just your parents. Your parents were self-flagellating white liberals, and you're the same exact thing. That's what you are, a self-flagellate. I hate being a Westerner. We can never win. The left and the West will never win. We need to be liberated by the... And you orientalize like the global South, right? Like you think that they're gonna come in and like save you. They're gonna come in and they're gonna occupy us, and we're gonna be liberated by the I guess the orientalized hordes, right? Like, that's your politics. It's fucking, just go jerk off to cuck porn or whatever the fuck it is you do. Stop making your psychosexual obsessions into our politics, you fucking weirdo. BE talking point, he thinks he learned about fight agency from FD and he thinks it's some APAC cutout or some shit. Matt Empanada, without a doubt, is a federal agent, and there is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. Like, Israel passed a huge fucking fund for it's the United States passed a huge fund for like funding foreign journalism, and his like behavior changed pretty much in line with the passage of that funding. So I don't know if he got like rolled up and arrested for something, or he got flipped, or he's just being paid, or what. But it's something like that. I noticed a huge push toward leftist infighting. Yeah, there's definitely a bot channels. And by the way, it's not working, right? Like, it literally didn't work. When like real people were asked to vote, the blue sky I hate Graham Platner liberals got 781 votes. That was the I think Andrea LaFlame got like 1,200 likes on her write-in post instructions post. She didn't even get that many write-in votes. Did you see Politico article about Polymarket playing influencers through the PayPal of one of their executives? How come nobody ever invites me to? Well, actually, they do. I just never respond. Anything else? By the way, utter victory. Utter victory. Totally irrelevant. You know, if my entire career was making fun of Graham Platner, the fact that he won like a world historic landslide would probably make me a little bit embarrassed to be talking about him anymore. You know what I mean? Like, he beat a city governor by over 50 points. Like, I think I might like stop pretending I have any influence at all. Oh, that's funny.
A pot of coffee. We walked.
The online ultra left is making huge push against entryism. Here's something that you should ask yourself. How come every single ultra that's anti-voting going into like seizing state power is anonymous? Every single one. I cannot I don't know a single American ultra who's not anonymous. Like, there is not one who's actually like a person. All right, back to watching our victory speech.
We spent the afternoon indoors and getting ready this evening, and then we drove. Born in a maternity ward. I am a son of rural Maine. I was a kid who picked blueberries under the July sun, and then one day, I was a kid who signed up and left to fight for. And when I returned, I carried with me the weight of forever, the struggle and the alien. But I'm also a lucky who found his way, who found a living on the sea, home, community that offered love, redemption. Redemption is not just some simple or easy destination journey. I've made mistakes that I regret, that I live with, and that I continue to learn from. I'm still far from, but every day I wake up and I try to be better, kinder. If you give me the chance, I will be a senator for the people who cannot afford to buy. I will stand up for you and against billionaires and greedy corporations. I will serve you, the people of Maine, not some lobbyist or party boss. I will be the champion for your dreams as if it were my own, no matter the challenge or the expense. I will fight for you.
I want you to know, if you are somebody who knows how to use a gun, if you're somebody who knows how to do small arm tactics, if you're somebody who knows how to build a set of mine or sight in artillery or do maintenance on an aircraft or a helicopter, I want you in my community. If you're a person who knows military skills, I want you in my community. I want you around me. If you have the ability to fight, I want you here. If you don't have those skills, well, then that's fine. They can be taught. And like, that is, I think that, you know, if I am going to be the pro non-cattle leftists, then so be it. Ask yourself, what kind of person wants a left wing that doesn't know how to shoot or fight? What kind of person would want a left wing that disdains military experience? What kind of person would want a left wing that would be sent like a fucking cow to the slaughterhouse if they ever had to encounter physical resistance? What kind of person wants a left that's physically weak and mentally soft? Think about that. Who would want you to be like that? I hope Platner does not become another John Fetterman. John Fetterman was never an anti-Zionist, number one. And number two, he had a massive stroke that destroyed his brain. You know that there's been times where people thought there were people that were put into power that people thought were conservative who then became left wing. You know that, right? Like, you know that, right? Like, there have been people that have gone the other way, right? Have you ever heard of Souter? This guy was appointed by fucking George H.W. Bush and then became one of the most left-wing judges on the Supreme Court. It's the reason why it's the reason why, even though the Republicans seemingly pointed almost every fucking judge since 1969, there were some decent decisions. It happens the other way too. Do you hear Republicans going, I can't believe we shouldn't put in this really conservative judge because he might be a suitor? Like, no. They go, okay, we fucked up on this guy. We'll get the next one. Stop being such a soft ass coward. You know, it's like the fact that you get again, who wants you to think that every single time there's a left-wing man who's white, he's going to secretly betray you? Who wants you to think like that? Who would want you to think like that? I want you to imagine that you're a CIA agent and you want to design a left that is fractious, that's incapable of winning political power, that can't defend itself, and is constantly suspicious of doing infighting and dividing along racial lines. What would you say if you were trying to get that outcome? That's not to say that black people in this country don't have legitimate concerns about white leftists. Of course they do. Of course we need to make sure that our policies and our presentation is intersectional. And yes, it is unfair that Graham Platner is probably given more ability to heal or grow than a similarly situated black candidate. But if you show me a black candidate with a Nation of Islam tattoo, you show me a black candidate that had said some shit on Reddit, I'll back them up. Trust me on that. Trust me the fuck on that. I will walk the fucking walk, just like I did when I defended, oh, sorry, I just turned, unlock me. The fuck is this thing doing? Just decided to randomly move. Gotta make sure that G is in the frame. Okay. You show me when Ilhan Omar's tweets came out about AIPAC, I was the first person to defend her. When Linda Sarsour was attacked by people like David Pakman for being an anti-Semite, I was the first to defend her. When Rashida Tlaib was censured, I was the first to defend her. I was there for Cori Bush. I was there for Jamal Bowman. Against some of these dumb fuck leftists, by the way, who were attacking Jamal Bowman, I was there to defend him. You guys are, oh, did you guys forget about that? Because you were attacking Jamal Bowman. It got him replaced by one of the most vicious Zionists in all of Congress. You dumb fucks keep losing. If a train of thought leads you to apathy or divisions of the left based on things that are probably not impactful to the broader populace, that's where the thought kicks into me. Yes, that's where it's Fed-coded shit. And by the way, it's incentivized by our social media. Our social media incentivizes Fed behavior. And I gotta tell you, I am consciously disconnecting from Fed behavior. If people are Feds, my tolerance for Fed behavior is going down. If you have no consequentialism in your fucking takes, I am not going to, I hit the ban button. I don't know what happened there. Okay, it was banned. Oh my God. Anyway, sorry about that, chat. I don't know why that took so long to ban. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah. If you're a disorganizer, if I don't see you out on the fucking streets, if I don't see you at the DSA meetings, if I don't see you knocking fucking doors, and I know you know who you are, LA leftists, I never see your ass anywhere. I never see your ass on the street because I'm on the street. I'm out there. If I don't see your ass, you're never showing up. I said hi at a DSA meeting once. Come say hi to me. I'll be at DSA meetings. Tell Hassan to go to DSA meetings. I'm going to. I actually have an idea of what I want to do. What I want to do is probably I want to go more to the DSA. I'm going to pick some people. I'm going to work with some people, and then I'm probably going to run for some sort of steering thing or whatever. But I need to like do more in LADSA to be able to have the credibility for it. And then I'm going to ask Hassan to endorse me. I lost the clip, but a couple of weeks ago, Hassan said he hasn't joined DSA because he doesn't want additional federal scrutiny on them. I don't give a that's ridiculous. They're already scrutinized up the ass. What is he saying? It's nonsense. All I was saying, and what I'm going to say is, it's time to end the tolerance for Fed behavior. These people don't have any power. They don't have any power. Graham Platner his vote just went up. They don't have any power. All the people that spent the last 4 months smearing Graham Platner for Zionism, they are fucking irrelevant. I need you to understand that. They're actually stupid. And they need to take up less space in our minds and in our places. And I do kind of recommend that you leave. You stop watching. Because at a certain point, it becomes like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Your goal is to do what? Empower Zionism? The Republican Party? Donald Trump? For a guy who says all the right things? Yeah, he's not perfect. But he's not going to become king of the universe. He's going to be a senator who votes on bills. Your nickname is literally Graham Platner. You're talking about international solidarity as pillars of socialism while we're watching a video of the unrepentant imperial killer that names your account. I've never seen an accelerationist. I don't believe anti-imperialism to socialism is doomerism. He's the anti-imperialist candidate, dumbass. I know you're not an American. What country are you from, by the way? What's your full name? What country are you from? What's your full name? What country are you from? What city do you live in? And what organizations are you with? If you're uncomfortable saying any of those things, I'm going to ban you. You don't have to say your name, but I need to know. You don't have to say your full name. But I will ban you if you're uncomfortable saying all those things. I don't tolerate anonymous wrecker. So if you want to be a wrecker in my chat, you got to start spilling the beans. Oh, never mind. Come back on your main account. I see that you created your account and then immediately followed. So I'm guessing this is some sort of alt. Come on your main account.
I have been willing to die for my country. There is nothing that I will not do for the state of...
I was mad on Platner because there were so many anti-Platnerites in leftist spaces, but the New York Times article literally negatively polarized me into supporting him. The fact that you weren't already negatively polarized shows that your negative polarization level is too low. The only thing we need to know is, what do the Zionists want? And then do the opposite. That is what I'm counseling you do. What do the Zionists want? Do the opposite. The Zionists want to defeat Graham Platner, support Graham Platner. Even if you think Graham Platner fails some sort of test of yours, he will substantially harm Zionism in America. Defeat Zionism! If you're not on board with that, you're stupid!
You have lifted me up. You have had my back. This is the state.
It's always people with inferiority complex about living outside the US. Fed and Panada is just pumping these losers with opium that they have an excuse to punch American leftists because any non-leftist American will just laugh at them. They come for us because we actually care about American imperialism, like a drug addict taking advantage of the nicest people they know. It's actually a really good example, although you need a different drug because opium makes you docile. So it's like meth, not opium. But your analogy otherwise fits, which is basically, that's exactly right. That's why this woke shit, they only deploy it on white leftists. You think white people that are not woke give a shit about microaggressions? You think white people that are not woke care about intersectionality? You think white people that are not woke care about like jokes or whatever the fuck? No, of course not. That's why they come to my channel, because they know that all of you are actually anti-racist and you're working to fight it. So they are tumors and they want to take advantage of you. It's why when Zionists are setting up their Gaza scam GoFundMes, they go make their bots to spam your replies. Not Zionist replies. The Zionist bots who make up scam GoFundMes, they spam your replies. Do you think a legitimate Gazan family is sitting there creating bots that reply to every single leftist with please give me money? No, those are Zionist scams. Bada Panada is smart. No, he's... Okay, I guess smart means different things to different people. Bada Panada is a talented grifter. He's cunning. He knows what to say to people to make them act in the way he wants them to act. I mean, that's good at manipulation. I wouldn't call that smart, right?
That raised me. And
how are the vibes? Absolutely great. I'm declaring fatwa on anti-Platner people. I'm declaring a Mike from PA fatwa on anti-Platner people because they're too stupid to be tolerated. Like, this is the reality. It's cold, hard math. Do you want the Zionists to have more power in the world or not? That's the only question. If Graham Platner wins, Zionists have less power in the world. If Graham Platner loses, they have more. That is the only question.
This is the state that saved. Now, I am not a deeply religious man, and yet I cannot help but think about a hymn. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Found because of the grace of the people of Maine. Grace comes when a tree and your neighbor brings over a chain. Grace comes when your truck gives out late at night and someone you've never met stops to help you.
Audio or video ever improved?
Grace comes when you need it most and expect it least. When your parents need and an old friend doesn't hesitate to the driveway. Or when a teacher, as underpaid as they are, stays late after school, gives up their own precious free time to help a kid who is... Grace is not inevitable. But here in Maine, sometimes it feels like it is. And that is something I will never take. It is a mighty and one that I am committed to extending.
Okay, chat, the video is just like too choppy for me and I'm actually losing it. The fuck? I know what just happened, chat. God fucking damn it. I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna lose my I knew it. I fucking knew it. God fucking damn it. All right, give me a second. Intel is such a garbage company. Holy shit, fuck Intel. Okay, we're back. Everybody refresh. Sorry about that. Everybody refresh. Sorry about that. My computer like restart yesterday and there's some sort of like weird okay. All right. Okay. It's actually good to see the viewer count doesn't go down as much as I saw it if your stream crashes. Oh, it will. Oh, it will. It absolutely will. What do you mean? It absolutely will. It'll drop like at least 1,000. Oh, it went down 2,000. Well, there you go. Well, then it's back to it's getting there. It's fixing.
Maine.
All right, what was I saying? Okay.
Grace is not inevitable, but here in Maine, sometimes it feels like it is. And that is something I will never take for. It is a mighty gift and one that I am committed to extending outward. Maine, I love you. I love this state. Now, the national pundits, the political establishment, they keep looking for that one story, that one headline, that one moment in my life that they can define the campaign by. But in trying so hard to understand me, they failed to understand that this is not about me at all. This is a movement about us. About the far too many working far too hard and struggling far too much at the hands of the ruling class. It is not a story of my hardship, it's of our hardship. A story of the hardship of every working Mainer. People that used to be able to stern in the summertime, plow in the winter, dig clams, and be able to send your kid off to college, but you can't anymore because that hard work, it isn't enough now. This story, the story of this campaign, it's not about how the political establishment counted me out. It's about for how far too long the political establishment counted out the voices of every single person without the money to buy influence. But they don't know Maine. Those who think we can be fooled by a handful of billionaires, who think they can just buy elections like they buy yachts or other houses, but they don't know Maine. We will continue to show up for one another. We will be the people that fight for each other and the places that we love. We are ready for change. And they will try to make this race about everything other than what it absolutely is, a simple choice for who will represent us in the United States Senate. Susan Collins may have started her career decades ago in Washington with good intent, but she has become just as spineless and corrupt as the establishment she now serves. She got elected promising to protect Roe versus Wade, only to turn around and put a justice of the Supreme Court who overturned it. She lied to us. Susan Collins has used her privilege and power to funnel $60 million in federal contracts, $60 million of our tax dollars, to her lobbyist husband. If that's not corruption, I don't know what. Susan Collins has gotten 21 times wealthier just in the last 15 years. Has anybody else gotten 21 times wealthier since Susan Collins was elected to office? Does Maine have 21 times the schools and hospitals? No, we have less. Susan Collins is getting rich while we're getting screwed. The last time she ran for office, she received more money from private equity than any other member of Congress, including some of the same private equity companies that shuttered the mills here in Maine. And ever since then, she has stood by and done nothing while they have bought up nursing homes, local businesses, the last of the houses we could afford, stripped our communities for parts. Hell, they bought the Boston Red Sox. And Susan Collins has never met a war she didn't like. She's been supporting endless wars since I was a teenager, and I know I had to fight. Senator Collins, I got blown up while you handed out billions of dollars to defense, that you're invested. You and your friends profit, and my friends died. Susan Collins has voted to send billions of our taxpayer dollars to fund other people's wars. Susan Collins, how do you justify closing hospitals in Maine while using our tax dollars to destroy them halfway?
Now, if you're not American, you may listen to that and you may go, oh my God, who cares about the American soldiers, blah, 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 blah. But there's an interesting phenomenon that I've encountered a lot, because I've spoken to a lot of Europeans for a long time. Europeans are the first to condemn American nationalism, right? But then ask them about their bumblefuck country, and suddenly the nationalist fires are flying again. Make fun of a France to a Frenchman. Make fun of the UK to a Brit. Make fun of Germany to a German, or Italy to an Italian, or Albania to an Albanian, or Spain to a Spaniard. Now suddenly they have this, the nationalism comes back, or European nationalism comes back. They don't reject nationalism. They reject your nationalism, which is kind of the whole point of nationalism, right? Nationalism is the rejection of other nationalisms. It is a fundamentally exclusionary worldview. Now, I'm an internationalist, so I will criticize America. I will criticize the xenophobia. But the argument being made to the working class that they shouldn't go abroad and fight in wars, and we should focus on our own communities, is inherently left-wing. It's the same argument that was made by the Bolsheviks in Russia. It was peace, land, bread. That was their slogan. It wasn't punish the Russian Imperial Army soldiers. It was the fucking evil bureaucrats and the monarchy are sending us to die in Germany for no good reason. The idea that you shouldn't argue to Americans that our spending trillions of dollars on the empire is bad because it doesn't acknowledge the suffering of those that we imperialized enough is a argument for babies. And if you talk to Graham Platner, he will tell you the wars were wrong. They were in vain. They were bad. And he opposes them. And he opposes the intervention in Venezuela, in Cuba, in Iran. But part of the reason he's electorally significant and not getting 1%, but rather getting 75% is because he connects the working class in America's needs to imperialist crimes abroad. They're not serving you here because they're committing crimes abroad. And there is a direct connection between your city falling apart and the genocide going on in Israel. That is internationalism. But it is done so in a way that attracts new people, that gives them an understanding of the world instead of making it about performatively condemning Americans for being the evil empire or whatever other self-flagellating nonsense these grifters are peddling to the already converted. And if your political movement, which they are not a part of, they are not part of a political movement. They are there to take, if you want to understand who Graham, like who Pat Empanada and Cavernacle and all these other guys are for, they are for people who just became convinced lefties. And when you're a newly converted person, there's a phenomenon called the zeal of the newly converted. In an effort to secure your position with the identity of leftist, you then try to show that you are the strongest leftist by fully embracing the values to the most logical extreme, right? If you're a brand new lefty, if you've been a lefty for 6 months, how better to communicate to others how strong of a lefty you are than by being the most left? And that is what they are feasting on. They're feasting on people that, quite frankly, don't know that much, but have passion. And they're using it and exploiting it for their own gain. It's fucking embarrassing. And I want you guys to be smarter than that. I don't have these ideas because I want to be smart. I don't have these ideas because I want to be moral. The purpose of Marxism, leftism, socialism is to change the world. If we're not changing it, then we're not doing anything of value. And I can tell you right now, look at these gray hairs. Look at these boomers standing behind an anti-war leftist who just crushed a Zionist establishment governor by over 50 points. That is changing the world. Now, is one Senate seat alone going to do it? No, because none of us can do it alone. All of us have to do it. All of our communities, all of our candidates, all of our states. Solidarity. We have to be smarter than our enemy, not dumber. And you could tell something. Notice how Zionists and centrists and Trump supporters all coalesced together to go after Graham Platner. How come they were able to understand the significance of this race and deploy themselves against it while you were confused? Why were you confused while they coordinated?
If you reflect Maine's values, why are you funding masked agents who are ripping our neighbors off the streets, driving them off in unmarked...
Dumb as fuck to compare your imperialist military to any revolutionary force. Do you think that the imperial Russian army was an anti-imperialist force? Get your shit together, man. Alrighty, chat. We're gonna come back to this. We're gonna have a larger conversations about that because, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be bringing in a bunch of foreign leftists because we're going to do a nice collaboration with Gil Gopnik. It's been a minute. It's obviously a depressing situation to have to do the collaboration right this minute because of the crash, but whatever. It's fine. We'll knock it out. Outside agitators. Gopnik, can you hear me? I kind of want to just drag this over it. Hold on, but let me fix the settings here. Are you hearing me? Bro is typing without having the stream open. Hate to see it. How about them markets? Yeah, I can't hear a goddamn thing that you got Nick is saying. Well, let's go back to doing other shit until we figure it out. Ultra is the new tanky. Nah. I don't know. That's too cursed of a link. I'm not gonna let you chat for 10 minutes. I'm not gonna let you chat for 10 minutes. That link is too cursed. I don't trust it. I just read Platner's campaign site. You literally just don't understanding. Oh, it is what it is. It is what it is. I think the thing that is more concerning for me is a lack of materialist analysis, right? It's all more like it's the way that the left has been turned into like moral grandstanding, and a lot of people adopt socialist, like the hammer and sickle for itself is a pragmatic compromise, right? Marxism was not intended to be a movement of peasants. That was a pragmatic political compromise made by Lenin. The very hammer and sickle symbol is a side of political gamesmanship. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it is not the peasant. That was a development. That was something somebody said, like, actually, it's not going to go from the most developed states outward. It actually went from one of the least developed states. And that's what had the socialist revolution. Why? Because they were the least stable. The state was the least stable. So there was a rupture. There was more of an opportunity. But in order to take advantage of that, they had to be politically pragmatic. That's what Bolshevism is. Bolshevism is the ability to be politically pragmatic and take advantage of conditions. My socialism is not rooted in moralism. I believe the ends justify the means. And if you don't, then you're a liberal. Okay, well, I can't seem to get this to work. Let me see if I can. I thought they were going to be, oh, we're talking over the thing. Oh, we're talking on Discord instead. Okay. Well, hold on. Let me mute this thing. That makes sense. All right.
Is absurd.
Okay.
Okay, are you in? Can you hear us?
I can.
Yo.
Very good. You're on track for beating Unc allegations. Welcome in. So I need you. I turned on my camera. I need you to turn on yours, like every time. Now you're gonna say, "Oh, but I wasn't expecting that," like you did every time, which I love.
No, I'm just pondering how I'm gonna do it. It's not that hard. I'm gonna just deactivate my main one over here.
Wait, are the chats aren't merged, are they?
We have to merge them.
No? Yeah.
Let's merge the peoples.
Yeah.
Everybody follow the other two. Or you will
especially
be
me, chat.
What? No, don't follow Feta. Follow Mike only. Okay, everybody only Mike.
True.
Start sharing chat. Only Mike. And my name is Mike, by the way.
My name is also Mike.
No,
Nice.
I am Spartacus.
Chat. Hello, I am Mike with mask. There is Mike with no mask, and there is Norwegian Mike. Objectively, the Norwegian one is the inferior one because he is even wider than the American white Mike. Well, I am. You cannot see what I am underneath this mask.
Yeah, leftist infighting.
Leftist infighting. Who's the whitest of them all?
Can we pop out?
That's like.
Is this pop outable? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I popped it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
popping.
you got failure to start camera on yours.
That's my favorite. Okay, let me see if I can get this shit on my screen too here.
By the way, like, why does this not have an option for like when people are co-streaming to just share one screen, right? So, for example, we all can see like whatever Mike's OBS is casting, right, or my OBS.
Sleep Tiny.
And then it's just sent everywhere else, because that would make too much sense. That would make too much. Is Hugo getting married soon? Yes, I'm getting married in 1 month. That is why in the upcoming great battle of oil that we're going to do as a tradition, you must make me win, because I am getting married, and Mike is already taken, so he does not have to spend Balkan levels of money, around $700,000 on a wedding. Okay, $7 million.
Is that what the girlfriend wants, the fiance wants? All right, hold on.
She was like, I am marrying you under 2 conditions. Number 1 is at least 4,000 subscribers on Twitch, and number 2, a $1,750,000 wedding. And I had to agree to those, because if I didn't, that would be sexist and anti-girl boss, and I would no longer have. I would have 0 subscribers. So
to be fair, like the only thing I want for my wedding is that like infinite free cigarettes thing that Dua Lipa did. Have you seen that? Like their marriage?
I planned on doing that before. I literally told my chat I'm going to do that. Oh, fucking son of a bitch. Okay, now
wait, actually,
everybody's gonna think about it. It's a very typical Balkan tradition. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. Instead of like little cakes and stuff on the side, you put cigarettes and you put lighters.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like
I figured it out. I figured it out, bro. Yeah. Okay, hold on.
Are you gonna start the cam?
I did.
Oh, he's got the cam. I see the cam.
I don't see it. Failure to start camera. Wait.
What the fuck?
It's right there. It's right there, guys.
It's literally loading on mine. That's actually strange. And you can see him on yours.
Yeah, I see him on mine. Yeah.
The fuck?
Alrighty.
The Nordline communist picture on your cam. Yes.
Welcome on in, everybody. We have the reaction joint stream. I mean, I can't. It's working, right, Freda?
It's not on my end.
It's working on my end, but not.
It's working on my end, and it's working on Freda's end. So that sounds like a Hugo problem.
Oh, that's the wrong.
Yeah, it says error 2015. The last time Mike was young.
That's the. Well, I was gonna say that's where your politics are from.
It actually is not work. Wait, Jesus Christ! I'm gonna get out of the call and then I'm gonna rejoin it.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
One moment.
Okay, yeah. I'm just setting my thing up so that I've got like an image for my.
You know what? I just got sent this shirt, chat. You see this shirt?
What is that? But honey badger?
It's a badger. It's a badger.
Yeah. Wait. Oh, your hair is in the way. Unless you're trying to throw ass. Well, I can see it's socialist. You got to put.
Sorry. It says Wisconsin Legislative Socialist.
Oh.
I basically helped revive socialism in the great state of Wisconsin. It looks like
bending on.
It looks like we are. It's a mic.
It's working. It's working. Yes, it's working. There. Okay. I can see your beautiful face, Mike. It's there. Okay,
I didn't change a goddamn thing. Oh, it's just my badger.
It was your badger? Oh my god.
It's for Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Legislative Socialists. They sent me a shirt.
You missed Mike throwing ass.
Yeah, and I threw some ass. Did I get the DSA buttons? Yes, I have Francesca's running for governor of Wisconsin. Ooh. She's a fellow anti-imperial lefty. She's leading right now.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah,
these are people I've never heard of. I don't.
Yeah, because it's all you know, political organizing. Political organizing.
Oh yeah. We all do that stuff.
Before we start, can we all get the reaction podcast links pinned in every single individual chat so that it's in the shared chat? And if you guys like the back and forth that you experience here from this absolutely absurdist cocktail of human beings, do consider checking out the show for a more stylized and formalized form of banter and ideological exploration. So with that bullshit marketing out of the way, I think you guys would genuinely enjoy it. There's 4,000 of you, even if like 5,000 even if 5% of you support us over on Patreon, it would make the show literally for the first year completely financially sustainable. But don't do that immediately. Go check out the show if you like it. Do that. That's the pitch. The pitch is out of the way. Back to what we were talking about, which, by the way, reminds me some of like if you notice in almost every episode, everybody's got like their quote unquote thing that when one starts talking about, everybody else like doesn't tune out, but like doesn't like proactively participate in, because it's like kind of like, okay, this is Mike's thing, this is Freda's. And I said that earlier on stream. I was like, Freda starts talking about history, we both like salute and we shut the fuck up. Mike starts talking about American politics, we salute, we shut the fuck up. I start talking about funnels and propaganda and so on, and cocks and pussies, they tune out because they know nothing about cocks and pussies, but they know about ideology. So this is I like that very diverse sets of perspectives that are being brought.
I would have said if it was talking about drinking like Eastern European well liquor, you probably know more than both of us.
Probably. You mean living, because there is no life in the United States of America, or God forbid, Norway. Yeah. Like, you know what is with Freda, like, you want to understand the levels of like comfort these Scandinavian bourgeois, petite bourgeois sentiment motherfuckers have. When we had to plan, for example, this co-stream, Freda goes like, "Oh my fuck!
It's so early, bro.
I gotta like clean my apartment and get food. I'm gonna sacrifice and like order food instead of cooking. I really hope it arrives on time so that I can co-stream with you guys." And I literally replied, "Man, I wish I had your problems."
Yep. There was also some construction work to worry about, but yeah.
Whoa! The neighbor is drilling in the wall. We must call the police on him.
Well, we have a question from the chat, which they want us to do a Michael Rappaport episode. Now, I wanted to talk to you guys about the ideas of the show. Like, so thus far, we've mostly focused on personalities, but I think we also want to talk a little bit broader as well. Like, maybe not Michael Rappaport, but maybe like every kind of like paid Zionist influencer, because nobody gives a shit about Michael Rappaport alone. But doing a deeper dive and making fun of like all the Michael Rappaports, whether it's Destiny, you know, all the paid Zionist grifters that, you know, abandoned all pretense of like honesty or morality because they're has-beens and took money to propagandize for Zionism. That's something that we're interested in doing.
A couple of I guess concept episodes that I really want to do. One that I've already basically like I'm forcing you guys to do, which is the John Birch Society. We have to do one on that, because obviously they are basically behind breaking so much of American politics and therefore the rest of the world's politics, because we all live in America now, as a great philosopher Rammstein said.
Yes,
and
I love him.
Yeah, and then also we got to do one on like the weird, because I don't really understand this, like all the weird like American right-wing Christian sects and like how this shit affects politics. Because that stuff, obviously,
Did you go down a rabbit hole?
Mike keeps bringing that shit up.
Did you go down a rabbit hole when I brought that up? Yeah. Southern baptism is something that Europeans need to learn about, because we have like, obviously everybody knows about Mormonism.
More things about Americans that we all have to learn.
You absolutely do. To understand America, which, you know, is basically it's understanding the empire, right? Like,
yes,
you know, you're Gauls. It's not my fault you're a Gaul. You know, you need to learn the difference between, you know, a plebeian and a patron, you know, if you want to play in the game.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just watch out for the Vigots who are coming eventually, and the Vandals.
I think there's too much fantasizing about that right now.
Yeah, no, it's not gonna happen.
You know what I mean? And this is something that I think has kind of caught on in the online left spaces that we occupy, is the idea that America is about to imminently collapse. It's just cope.
Yeah,
it's cope. But you know, it's not happening, guys. Unfortunately, not happening.
I have a question for the chat though, and also you guys. In terms of like concept episodes, we're gonna obviously do a bunch of like American-centric stuff, but obviously there's a whole fucking world out there, and we aren't talking enough, I think, about like European stuff, about like stuff in other parts of the world. Yeah, so I want to know like if there's anything specific you guys want us to like bring up. Tommy Robinson is actually a pretty fucking good shout, because that dude is the most annoying freak, kind of like trying to ruin the UK.
I'd love to do
so
something.
That's a really good shot.
I would love to do something on like the European like Trump lights. You know, your Geert Wilders, your Maloney's, and all the ways that Europeans cope that their like Trump version of Trump is not like Trump. Like this is a phenomenon that's very interesting. Is like you have a bunch of people that are very clearly using Trump's playbook in Europe, but people that vote for those people say in polling that they hate Trump. It's like a very interesting like phenomenon that
because he's not from their country.
Exactly, like
he's like he's the the foreign bully that we got to protect our domestic interest against. So like in their mind, Trump probably isn't that much different from like Xi Jinping or
Yeah, totally. Also, I'd love to do something on like the TERFs, the international TERFs.
Yes.
Because that's a huge movement. You know,
it's also going to be very UK focused. Yeah, TERF Island.
Well, but it's common everywhere, right?
I mean,
it is. Yeah.
There is something to be said about the fact that we've covered like 14 individuals now. We haven't even started like dissecting particular videos, or particular YouTube channels, or even particular like ideological strains of the digital right. We're just focused on people first podcast, the reaction.
They've kind of been like an example.
And all of them happen to be American, except I guess the last one that we've covered. They're all from the States, which shows also like in an indirect way of like where online reactionary ideology mostly festers in and where it comes from. And as Freda said earlier, like we're all living in America. But not only when it comes to loving burgers and fries and milkshakes, but also when it comes to adjusting to a very, 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 and Mike, like, it was really inspirational in multiple episodes in the way he dissects this, that we're also like our strain of fascism, which sometimes cannot even be applied domestically in a particular European country or Asian country or absolutely anywhere, is nonetheless tried to be applied because it's just copy-pasted from what we've seen fascists advocate for and pitch from the United States, right?
Yeah.
So it's strange because it's like I would really, really love to talk about niche usually online fashion, because that's the point of the show, but not only from the rest of the world. But isn't it crazy that like, except unless they are insanely famous, it's very difficult for us to know anything about them. Do you know anything about Kazakh fucking right-wing influencers? No, you don't.
No,
you know much about French online right-wing influencers?
I wish I did.
Exist, but we did. We don't. Exactly, my friend. So
the French stuff is very impenetrable to me. Like other than Mélenchon and the what's his fucking name? The centrist, the president. I'm blanking. Macron, exactly. Like other than them, my knowledge of France needs to be improved. Like I try to pay attention to it. Obviously, I know more than every other American because they don't even know who their fucking own. Yeah. They don't know who their own vice president is. But it would be nice to spend some time on Europeans. I mean, some people are in chat are talking
we
about.
We should need guests for that, but yeah.
Yeah, some people in chat are talking about some things that are definitely fraught. And since we're on stream with all of our fans, we could talk about it. What do you guys think about Eastern European fascism? Because that is probably the group that is most closely aligned with the U.S.
I mean, there's
Russophobia and the nationalism. Double genocide theory, things like
flavors,
that.
Right? Like there's two flavors of Eastern European fascism, because you got the Eastern European fascism that's like aligned with the U.S. and obviously anti-Russia, and then you got the Eastern European fascism, which is from Russia. And I think we should do like an episode on either. I've already
pissed everybody off.
Obviously, because like I mean, we have to talk about it. It is fascism, and I've already penned in Alexander Dugin. We have to talk about him, obviously, because he is the Russian fascist.
He's my favorite. I'm a huge Duginist.
But why can't we get But then we're not going to
in the literal sense, but in the I'm a fan of the lore.
Oh, the lore
is the lore is actually incredible. Like his predictions about what the future of a quote unquote liberal world would look like is makes for incredibly well-rounded sci-fi writing. Like it's pure sci-fi on steroids. And
I mean,
it's
in
so
many
good.
ways, it's like not that different from the weird sci-fi shit that like Professor Zhang says, who we,
It is,
are
yeah,
covering
they're
for
very
next
aligned.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah, they're very
I mean, what
aligned,
do you think
because
about
that's what-
land? What do you think about land?
Oh yeah, obviously we got to do that too. yeah, make land.
Accelerationism and the kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, I think he might be the most powerful pseudo intellectual of all time. Like honestly, I respect it.
I respect it too. Yeah.
I really do
all
it.
time in history or like currently, because I feel like
No,
in
I mean
history,
currently,
like, you probably have, like,
currently.
Hayek and shit.
No. I'm talking about currently. Like the way people
Yeah.
get like brain poisoned by Landian like thought is insane. Like people will read it and then they just like readjust their entire. And he says some really funny shit, which I love. Okay, apparently we have a joint hype train going on right now. I just want to draw attention to it. And apparently right now it's 97%. 97% for Hugo. 97% for Hugo. Now I had two hype trains already so far.
98%.
But
98%. 99%. Eat them. But also, where you at, little Freddas? Where you at,
Where are we
little
at,
Mike?
Freddas? Okay, thank you, chatters,
Let
for
me see, baby.
not making it a 0% for me. Okay, thank you. Now I'm at like 5%.
getting
I
to
see
Appreciate
this
you.
shit.
Okay,
Dude,
29. Okay.
I have to open up like Mike's stream to see the hype train because that shit doesn't show up on my stuff. I'm just
no.
gonna chat
Okay,
with you
what
on
was I
OBS
saying?
open.
Oh,
What?
okay,
But
yeah.
you merged with us, right?
There's
You
another-
merged with
Yeah,
us.
There's another thing
no.
that I wanna
I just
say.
my interface. Yeah.
that might piss off some of your chatters, Hugo, which is ACP. Would you
Why would
guys
it
want to
piss off
talk about
my-
them, or do you not?
I
Do you
don't
think it's friendly fire?
I don't think they're. I don't know if it's like friendly fire, but I think it's like very much like not something for us to really, go delve that into, because like I think they don't have the sort of influence that to warrant warning people about that much. I guess I don't know.
Well, can I tell you my theory and let you guys respond?
Yeah.
I think it is a Russian intelligence op that only makes sense from the point of view of kind of like a midwit Russian, intelligence officer who is a reactionary, lives in a reactionary oligarchy like Russia is today, but for the reactionary oligarch brains of a Russian, they were the most powerful during the Soviet Union. So they have a nostalgic, like reactionary.
Yeah, we talked about this before. Yeah,
I think we have talked about this before. But like they have that reactionary, nostalgic remembrance of the Soviet Union, but from a Russia, like almost a Russian chauvinist point of view. So they have like, you'll see like reactionaries in Russia flying the Soviet flag. They don't believe in any of the communist beliefs or socialism, but it's more of like an expression of Russian chauvinism.
Yes.
And so when you look at ACP, their politics make sense in that light, which is like, what would an American version of nostalgia for the Soviet Union, but was also reactionary as far as like, patriotism and things like that look like? So it only makes sense from the point of view of somebody who is, bathed in that kind of milieu. And in America, we don't have nostalgia for Soviet symbols. So it doesn't make sense.
It's a strange approach. It's a very strange approach. It's a very strange approach that might work in certain parts of the United States where you're trying to allude to the masculine and strong, like socialist heritage of unions and of like union revolts and so on, and how
Yeah, but they disdain the actual
is on the land,
that exist.
not the guy, not the barista, etc., which are some of the different pitches that they have been playing with, and so on and so on. But when it comes to the where the funding comes from. And where the motivation comes from, I'm always like on sitting on two chairs here, because I also want to point out, I agree 100% with Mike that there's probably a lot of money being invested from the Russian Federation. If it ends up looking like just the American feds creating the ACP, I don't think that's the case, because that would imply that the Russian intelligence service is filled with literal imbeciles, because the ACP all the time goes to Russia. Their leader like lives there for a long time. He's dating like a supermodel, etc., all the Chad shit, and so on and so on. Like it would be very silly and strange of the Russian intelligence service to not having to not having recognized the Fed status of the ACP. So that's why I don't think they're Yank Feds. I do.
Oh, they're not Yank Feds.
Understand?
No.
Yeah, I do understand that they might be getting like money from the East. But as I say this is one of my chairs. But I say this on the other side. I honestly don't want to say that like getting money from a foreign government that might not like your government in order to spread a socialist message and push an organization and so on is necessarily bad. Like if the Chinese reached out and they want to give you money, but even fuck it if the Germans reached out and they want to give you money because they hate America and not because they're socialists. I think it's rather utilitarian to accept it, but as long as they give you complete freedom to keep talking
here's what I would say about that.
So that's where it's interesting.
In the pocket of big Netherlands.
No, here's the thing I would say about that. In America in particular, we have a very strong counterintelligence Gestapo, right? And if you give them anything like that, you'll go to prison. So I would not be in favor of
Tim in prison. But is Tim Pool in prison, my friend? He's not in prison.
No, because he's not being anti-capitalist. There was just
there you go, bravo.
There was just literally was just a California mayor who was making like she had like a local newspaper and she was coordinating with like some members of the Communist Party of China for like articles on her fucking newspaper, and she's like a mayor of a local California town, and she's like going to prison now because they proved that she like said comrade or some shit to like a Chinese. So like the idea that we could on the left take money from the communists is insane. Just like
in America, in the United States,
we're not capable of doing that.
In other places, we're a little bit more free. In other places, we're a little bit more free, and you don't get.
We do have some shit like that.
Good luck.
Too, but it's
try taking money from China in Norway and see what happens.
Well, there was this dude who, I guess, like there was like allegations that he took money from Iran, but he's also like far right, so like I think he negotiated like some favorable like fishery like agreements with Iran, a member of the far right party, and was like his wife was from Iran and shit like that, and that's different.
Why the European thing is probably Mike knows, but the some people in the audience might not know. Here we unironically just call it like very fair lobbying, participating in the free market, etc., when it's usually American cash or cash from another European country going to your country in order to buy up land, buy up mines, influence politics, etc., etc. That to an extent is acceptable because it's like other quote unquote, I'm oversimplifying here, but other quote unquote civilized peoples that are, deep down inside on our side, part of our civilizational project. So when a German oligarch is influencing French politics or like buying up French businesses, French land, and so on, it's not frowned upon as much as if, God forbid, a Russian or a Chinese guy did it, or even a Mexican guy did it, right? Everybody would lose their collective shit because there would be infringement of sovereignty. But basically, white people do it good. No white people, no good.
Yeah. I mean, if it's like a really rich guy who's like of Jewish descent, then the right will freak out. Like if it's George Soros,
yeah.
Well, I mean, again,
if he happens to be from Israel.
I mean, even Soros, Soros, the reason why they freaked out is it's not because Soros was interfering. It's because he was like,
it's
pushing pro-EU shit or something, right? Which, I think I'm pretty ambivalent on whether that is like leftist or not. It's really a competition between various elements of the bourgeoisie, right? Like you have nationalist industrialists versus international capital, and like it's not as simple as like the class versus the class. There are gradations and complexities within the class, and they oftentimes have conflicting interests. And successful left-wing movements have exploited those cleavages. Like I think this is something we've talked about in the past. Like
cleavage.
Yeah.
I like to look at those.
Pussy brings.
Well, he's the cock and pussy, and I'm the guy who likes to look at the cleavage. All right, and Frada, you can be the butt guy. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. I'm very glad you didn't say feet or something like that. Yeah. I was like, what's left here?
I mean, I think you just
Speaking
told
of
on
which,
yourself.
before you
I think
continue,
you just
before you
told on
continue,
yourself,
before-
bro.
Speaking of feet,
We are all oil guys, though. We are
Speaking of
oil guys.
What?
We are all oil
Okay.
guys. There's 1 minute left of the hype train. Be it cock, pussy, titty, or ass, we love doing it with oil, brother. So I'm looking at both of you. Are you going to let me mog you so hard? Are
my
your
God.
two communities that say they love you, that say they respect you, get so mass murdered by people like Crisco and Cuphead and other beautiful, beautiful Oilers on my side? 40 seconds left. And also, do you disrespect all of us together so little that we don't even do a level 20 co-stream hype train? It's I'm sorry, but like I feel my soul has been offended.
What
by
I'd
these
really
people,
like to see, what I'd really love to see is people definitely joining the Patreon as well, because obviously we have an editor, and I want this to go as high of a number as it can be, but the project of the
Exactly.
podcast is also really important, and the better we do there, the better the guests we can have on. And we've already had banger guests. We've had Sam Cedar, we've had Hassan Piker, we've had Liv Agar, we've had Matt Lieb, and we've got Atouche, maybe? I heard
Atouche, yeah,
Atouche?
down the pipe, yeah.
Down the pipe. So
Reached out to Atouche, yeah.
and we're gonna have True and on.
yes.
We're going to have
When the fucker replies to his sorry,
okay,
yes,
but no,
he is.
well, and also we need to have some of our. If we could have, maybe we can have a deprogram crossover,
Absolutely.
double crossover.
Yes,
We're
yes,
gonna-
I would love that.
Actually, that would be a good question for the chat. Who would you guys like to see on the podcast? So thank you, by the way, gifting Calm Like a Tom, Soviet Cranberry, everybody, for not letting me get completely mogged, although I'm still getting mogged.
Let's keep going, chat. Let's keep going. But yes, can mods of all of our community spam
Kyle
the Patreon
Kalinsky,
of the show?
Caroline. Ooh. I think Caroline is
Professor
too classy for Hugo, honestly. That's the problem.
Who?
Caroline Kwan. She's a friend of the show. She's another streamer. She's
Great. I don't know.
she's
Caroline.
very
Who's
classy.
Caroline?
Very classy.
Am I not
Fellow
classy?
leftist.
I'm exceptionally classy. I'm super classy. Guys, I have like a 10 times better developed pedigree than both of you combined, but I put myself down in your environment so that you can feel like I am a fellow working class man, okay? I am petite bourgeois sentiments encapsulated in a human being. I'm kidding. No, I'm
This
from an
is who you
8,000 people
Oilers are
town
oiling, the
in
already
buttfuck.
rich. Give to Freda and myself.
Yeah,
I am
exactly.
from
Yeah,
an
exactly.
8,000 people town in buttfuck Balkans, bro. But I have to play my role as the local.
I'll admit the
Oriental,
better tragic backstory.
Yeah, no, honestly, it makes sense. He's like
yeah.
the local imperial administrator. He's like the member of the aristocracy that us imperialists from Europe come and we administer
and
the
we install
frontier.
it. Yeah. To an extent, though. No, to
Brian
an extent,
Grimm, though,
me and Freda, because me and Mike, because he worked in political organization and I worked in corporate, we got some filthy petite bourgeois sentiments like inside of our bodies. Freda, though, is completely clean. He's historian, academic, like just a pure soul. That's
Intelligentsia.
why we want to corrupt him. Okay, the
They want to get me that Subaru.
He's the type of guy that's so clean that like during the Maoist revolution was part of the guys that were like, this is petite bourgeois decadence, only because he's never tried it. He's like, dreams, disgusting, you capitalist swine.
No.
Always in a classroom studying.
No. Freda would be with a dun on. He'd have a dunce cap on. The people that would be yelling.
Yeah, because I'll be in the university. I'll be denounced
exactly.
for
You gave someone a B.
Yeah.
Like the people that were the Red Guards were 16-year-old Tumblr. Like if you want to know who would be the Red Guards, it'd be the Tumblrites of today. It's all the people that are like, I saw that you
People on
retweeted.
Twitter who are doing purity politics. Yeah.
Exactly, the people that are going through your tweets for
follow
2010. Yeah. I can't believe you liked the Stavros tweet. That's what the dunce cap would be on my head.
That's problematic. Yeah.
Liked the Come Town podcast. That would be the sign I'd be holding.
Yep.
Arun Bastani is a good idea. Alice Capel is a fucking phenomenal idea. Somebody should be writing all of this down. 1 minute left of the hype train.
Give to me, I'm bald. The most oppressed people on the planet.
58% for you, Gopnik. 35%.
Don't give it to him. He'll buy hair growing oil or something with it.
Who, Freda or me?
I'm gonna get Carl Skolinski's hair, like silver stuff.
But wait, okay. If we reach level 17, Freda tells chat whether he is bald or not. Okay, don't give it to them yet. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't give it to them yet. If we reach level
I'll keep it a
17,
secret.
Freda will tell you whether he is bald or not, which I think is a
Freda
major
bald?
reveal.
No way. I don't get bald vibes at all.
No bald vibes at all. No bald vibes at all.
Oh, I'd love to have the Blowback Boys on.
Oh, the Blowback Boys. Oh yeah, definitely. That would be. I think their work is really important. I was.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I had a road trip and I made them listen to the Korean War Blowback because I was driving. And we just sat there listening
that's so
to
awesome.
the Korean
You're the guy
Blow.
who's
The
like,
Korean
let's go on a
War
road trip, and
Blowback.
you're the guy. Yeah, you're the guy who's like, we're
Legendary.
gonna listen to this fucking podcast.
Legendary.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Blowback will be difficult a little bit because like
Can't
I
go
interviewed them twice. Blowback is a little bit difficult because I interviewed them twice, and don't get me wrong, they're brilliant, but they just talk about the thing they just covered on the season, right?
Yeah.
So the fuck do we talk to them about? Like, hey, we brought you here to talk about this niche digital fascist movement that we want your hot
yeah.
takes on. So it's a bit
Well, we
it's
could
a
talk
bit
to.
hard
I mean,
to do the format, but still.
I don't know.
I think the guys from Chapo would work really well. Like Felix would work.
I don't
really
know.
well.
I don't
Yeah,
know the
Felix would be
Chapo
so
guys
fucking funny.
myself. You know,
I
otherwise
just
than that, I would.
because of interviews I do, but they don't really go on more. There's a lot that happen over in Chapo. Like Matt, who was like my favorite.
I'm a Matt guy. What guy were you guys? Were you guys
I'm a
Matt
Matt
guys?
guy. Also
I'm
a Matt guy.
Yeah,
Matt
of course.
I didn't listen to fucking podcasts. Like I started listening to podcasts like way after everybody else. I've never listened to like Come Town and Chapo and shit like that. I know these guys from after everything like stopped being a thing, you know?
You need to come to
you're not
LA so I can
meeting
take you to.
the ball delegations.
I want to take you to
Is
some.
that bold traits?
Yes, it's a
Do
bald
not
trait.
listen to podcasts.
You
Yes,
didn't
it's
want
a
to.
bold
He
trait.
didn't want to wear headphones because it would remind him there's no hair on the top of his head. So he refused to listen to podcasts.
Doesn't fit with the hat I'm wearing, yeah.
Bald trait. So you were really mad at me during the Tim Pool episode.
What, me or Hugo?
Hypothetically, we're seeing if you're bald.
I'm insanely, I was insanely mad. Yeah, no, like you're coming for one of my people.
It's not level
Like,
17.
I have to stand
level
up for him,
17.
yeah.
Level
Oh,
17.
oh shit,
is
he's right.
difficult.
Oh, whoa, fuck. Okay, Justin.
Griffin.
Oh,
Griffin
I'm
for
making
the
a
ball.
late surge, Chad. I've almost passed. You go. I'm only 4%
shit.
behind. Let's get him.
Wait, no, suck my ass! Dude,
Let's
Dude, I was
pass him.
fucking beating
losing to
Mike for a
fucking
sec as
American.
well.
That is
Socialism or
fucking filthy.
barbarism?
That is absolutely filthy. That is absolutely filthy. You're giving the imperialist money. You're giving the imperialist white man money.
White man.
Yeah. Okay, I'm white. He's white.
I was
There's
just
a
telling
difference,
my
okay?
my
True,
chat
true,
before
yeah.
we hopped on the call that the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
Did you just take over?
Yeah,
No.
Soviet Cranberry!
47 versus 45.
Yeah!
Слушайте ме и гледайте ме. Сви се будите одмах, маму вам jebem, neće ova jebeni Jenki da me
Tim,
jebe ovako.
Tom Steyer, I need you. Tom
Yeah, jebem
Steyer,
vas
I
u
need
piču.
you.
Yeah, guys, look me in the eyes. What is going on? This is a betrayal of incredible magnitude. Okay, Crisco carried a lot, but I summon all my fellow uncircumcised demons to fight.
Uncircumcised
Oh,
demons.
God,
Like,
he's
Yakuza encounter.
Okay.
The Smegma squad is not coming to save you, okay?
I'm gonna
The
cut my
Smegma-
child's dick off. I'm just cutting my child's dick off. Look at me, I'm American, and it's not for any religious reasons. I just hate my child's penis. Yeah. I love obsessing over my child's penis.
Don't start. The Smegma maniacs are not gonna rise up. They're gonna keep it down. They're gonna keep it zipped up.
Americans circumcised both in their allegiance to Israel and in their treatment of their own
The
children.
thing is, like, all right, Europeans, they're even more, unfortunately, isn't Albania like giving away a fortified island to like Israel, like right now? Like, isn't that happening?
What the fuck?
literally stopped it from happening. The entire
nice.
country rose up, threw Molotov cocktails at the house of the president and said, "We are not selling out, so it is not
No
happening."
comment.
So
God, that's based. Oh my God. Albania,
I guess, yeah.
See, whenever you
They
start
took
bullying
Albania. I'm at
Albania,
40, he's at 53. You see, he attacked Albania. He attacked Albania. All proud Albania comrades. Switch from his chat to mine and donate to this one.
Look at this
Nobody attacks Albania.
look at this motherfucker exploiting nationalism.
Tirana, Tirana. It's an internal joke because I make fun of Albanians all the time. So it was very awkward when they were super based now by defending their sovereignty, national sovereignty against unironic, just like Zionist capitalists buying an entire piece of their land, conquering it.
So Israel can have like their own Malta.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be a weird conversational left turn, but I kind of think we're living in a weird future where it's like a poorly written sci-fi movie where they just nuke. They just nuke the planet because they're fucking bored. That is the like the ruling class that we have right now, and they're buying an Albanian island so they could have like a fucking bunker. It's like, what is that show? Oh fuck! Oh god damn it! The
one where they live in like a fucking underground silo or some shit.
Yes,
or
yes, exactly. That's like they're that. Little St. James too. Exactly.
I mean, yeah, fucking like Peter Thiel is like moving to Argentina and shit like that. Like, yeah, you can see that.
He wanted to meet up with his lead agent down there.
Let's not go there.
You
but
know
anyways,
who it is. You know who it is.
So yeah, no, I mean it's like literally all these people, because they're all pushing in different directions, but obviously it's all like in the aggregate, it's pulling things, globally for all of us in a certain direction, which is obviously towards like climate collapse. But none of these people, like Peter Thiel, all these people, they don't give a shit about that. It's not like they're like, yeah, let's fucking destroy the planet. They just don't fucking care. It doesn't matter to them because they've got infinite money. So no matter what happens, they're gonna survive. They're gonna be fine.
I don't know.
They're gonna find ways to like mitigate.
Thiel, I think, is actually mentally ill. Like, I don't know how much you've paid attention to the stuff he says, but he literally talks about how he's like the Antichrist. He talks about how the Antichrist is here, and then he describes himself. Right?
Yeah. I've seen that. He looks sweaty as fuck. He's like the moistest individual.
He's asked if like he wants the human race to survive, and he doesn't answer. And there's like the guy is literally insane.
I feel like this is a consequence of something a little bit more complex, where they've achieved maximum potential performance rates than any other human on the planet. They've climbed to the absolute top of the hierarchy, and usually what happens with people that reach it is they start looking around for something else, and very often they start finding this something else as present among working class people, but because they are so far removed from them, the theft of some particular like cultural norm or thing that working class people do all the time gets co-opted, but on a very superficial level, because again they are not living it, so they're just aestheticizing it and carrying it. Where he is so fucking fascinating and interesting to me is that once he reached this kind of particular plateau, he was like, okay, capital has been earned. What's another thing that I could dedicate my life to? Something that is even higher than that. And he unironically said ideology. He unironically said some sort of political movement. But you're already on top of this particular system that we find ourselves in, imperialist capitalism and so on. So you gotta keep capitalism, but then change something up about it, around it, right? And that's where the entire kind of ideological pitch that mostly came from the Silicon Valley elites and so on took keeping the capitalist status quo, but keeping it against, unironically, potential class-conscious revolution. So he is developing, and when you read any of his stuff, and when you read what he actually believes in, he believes in three main points. Number one is that meritocracy exists. So if you manage to get on top of a capitalist meritocracy, that means you have proven your superiority to everyone else. He genuinely believes that billionaires are kind of like a super race of people that have earned their position in that super race, and that they have earned the ability to, once technology is developed enough, to biologically enhance themselves to unironically biologically enhance themselves to actually be on top of this hierarchy, not only when it comes to capital, but when it comes to what they are biologically, to remove themselves, to elevate themselves above the Homo sapiens, not only when it comes to what they have, but also like in genetics.
One thing to jump in, I will say, and the one thing we're going to prove to these billionaires is that their money is a social contingency, right? So the fact that, Elon Musk has $1 trillion or whatever, we could change that reality tomorrow with a gun, right? Or more accurately, we could just go into the banks and we can change a fucking database entry. A one from will switch to a 0, and his account will go from 1 trillion zeros to 0. It's just, and because we have the social power, we'll be able to do that. So they're miscalculating. They think that these numbers that it's just a system that we've set up, and we could all just change it. If we collectively rise up, we could collectively change it. And, all the property relations, all the money they have, all the so-called power they have, fundamentally, they're just a guy who eats and breathes and sleeps and shits, and who has a certain amount of blood pumping through their brain. And if that blood stops pumping and it's not oxygenated for 5 minutes, then that's the end of Elon Musk's. So all these pretensions, they're just delusions. They're just delusions.
Make sure that happens before anyone else gets to him. But yeah.
Well, I'm just saying, like, what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, he genuinely think it's. Yeah, please go on. Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is, so if you ever feel despair, I always go back to something that I read, like when I was in political philosophy as an undergrad. There was a line in Hobbes, where he said that it's paraphrasing. He just says something like, everybody's vulnerable to everyone else. Doesn't matter how intelligent you are. Everybody sleeps. Everybody can be killed. Right. And I'm not advocating for it. I'm just saying that we're all mortals. We're all, our lives are going to end one day. And so all these pretensions of grandeur and this like delusions of divinity and all this other shit that these guys are. I mean, it's just basically a modern version of the pharaoh building a pyramid. That's exactly what Elon and all these guys are doing. Yeah. It is a delusion. It's a narcissism that's out of control. But fundamentally, they're going to end up buried in the pyramid. Right. And humanity is going to continue. It's just how much damage are they going to do on their way out?
God, that is such a fucking sad prospect that one of Elon Musk's like monuments to himself, he built that in Path of Exile by paying someone to play for him. Like that was him creating like a monument for people to respect him.
That's what's so funny about the Gilded Age too. Like the first Gilded Age, like if you go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is a relatively small town, it's like the 20-something biggest city in America, right? There's maybe couple million people living in and around it. Okay. They have some like amazing natural history museums and like opera houses and like cultural artifacts of the previous Gilded Age, where like the steel magnates would build like Frick and Carnegie. They would build universities and libraries and opera houses and museums. And there was like actual marble. There was stuff that you could look at and say, you know what? That guy built that for the community. What has Elon Musk done? You can't point to one fucking thing this guy has spent his money on of any human worth. He's totally useless.
It's so like adjusting that to the digital era. He is so pathetic that, as Fred has said, like back then you wanted to impress the intellectuals, or you wanted to pacify the working masses, or even, sure, as you said, like leave something grand behind that will keep the memory of you alive, so through it you will be able to live forever. Or sometimes the intention is just a guy is chill, happens to be a capitalist, but chill, wants to buy things. I'm open-minded towards that as well. But we are talking about Silicon Valley, nerdy literal bitch boys. I'm sorry. So when Elon Musk thinks about how can he be cool amongst the non-billionaires, because as I said earlier, they unironically do care, or they don't care to such an extent that they want to biologically engineer themselves away from Homo sapiens. So when Elon Musk, who does not want to biologically engineer himself, but he does give a shit about what the plebs think, no matter how much he denies it, What's the modern version of building a library? It's paying a gamer to build a fucking monument in a video game. He wants to be loved by people that enjoy video games and online culture. That is his
But everyone
ecosystem of
disrespected him even more
respectability.
because he cheated.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, global chat in that game was fucking like tearing him up. It's so good.
Because they can never co-opt it because they don't live it, right? They don't.
Yeah,
live
and
it.
also because like in order to show that, he has to like, I guess like in the past, this billionaire capitalist, where the fuck would have to go into the street and be there at this monument like ceremony when it's actually being like unveiled. Elon Musk now has to step into the the dirt and muck of the gamer's world, and the gamer fucking hates him.
Yeah.
So they just spam the global chat saying you have no friends. Everybody hates you. Like, it's awesome.
It is.
And I think that's partly why they like isolate themselves, because whenever they interact with normal people fucking hate them. Normal people show that as well. That's why they they live in these like insular sort of like communities surrounded by yes men. Elon Musk just doesn't play multiplayer games like that. These other people, they just talk to like coached media or whatever the fuck like that. They don't like actually just go out into the street and go to like normal places.
I just had an idea for a piece of merch. But it just popped in my head randomly.
Is it 48% Ugopnik, 46%? 49% Ugopnik.
Oh, what? Okay, chat. Listen.
Should that be on the shirt?
Just drop a 20 bomb right as time expires, and we'll win.
Everywhere.
Yeah, if you chat. If you drop a 20 bomb in my chat, it's gonna be incredible. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, give Freda so that it goes into level 20. Let's go into level 20. 15 seconds left.
All right, ready?
What was the merch idea?
Are you gonna let me win?
Miss Pasta Bomb with the reset. 20 bomb right now. 20 bomb.
Posh Ninja.
20.
Don't do that. Drop a 40. A Crisco. Ha! Suck ass.
Yes! Chatter, this is called coordination. It's called action. It's called leadership. It's called the vanguard. It's called solidarity. It's called victory.
2-1. Well played. 2-1. 2-1.
All right, we finally got one of these. Jesus Christ.
Shaking hands. Are we shaking hands?
I have to say, I'm shaking hands with you Ugopnik's Oilers because you guys bring the heat every time,
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much to Mike's and Freda's Oilers as well.
Yes, of course.
The competition is what mattered.
Yeah.
Well done.
I was going to say, and now I also do have to reveal that, yes, chat, I can indeed confirm that I am absolutely 100% bald.
Wait, you are? I didn't think so.
wait, okay, hold on. I need to find out more about the bald because I'm picturing.
Yep.
Okay.
No.
So are we Mr. Clean? Are we Jean-Luc Picard? Are we just like, do we have the comb over?
Is it like intellectual bald, or is it like Chad bald?
No. If I let that shit grow out a little bit, I'm Jean-Luc Picard. But otherwise, I try to keep it clean. I'm Mr. Clean. Yeah.
Okay. Do you wear glasses?
Yeah, I do wear glasses. Yeah.
Okay, but like more like hipsterish or more like modern intellectual, or not intellectual at all? You're going more with a like a masculine vibe. What are you going with?
I feel like I'm like low key with my glasses. Not like it's not the long thin ones.
Is it like
it's
Dita?
more like
Is it round like Dieter, like a Nazi scientist?
No, not Nazi scientist. But I've been eyeing up the Nazi scientist aesthetic a little bit.
No,
not kidding.
No. Yeah, I think if you're if you're like Scandinavian, you gotta be aware of the there's Germans that are looking for the they're like
they're gonna
invade
putting you in the program.
You're in the program. Yeah.
It's so fucked up when you're like when you go completely bald. I have like a Russian friend. It's literally one of my best friends ever. And he was really struggling with hair loss for a long time. And he just decided to just cut it. But before he cut it, he looked like, because he had like long slick back hair and a very like strong mustache. He decided to cut it at the same time when he also got insanely fucking shredded. And the outfits this guy would wear would not signal anything problematic when you have like the slick back hair with the mustache. I'm talking very long leather boots, like very strong, thick jeans, like nice shirts and stuff. Like he looked fucking phenomenal. Don't get me wrong. But now all of a sudden he gets shredded and perfectly fucking bald, like veins absolutely everywhere. And he's wearing these big boots and he's tall and the big mustache that is like almost like not almost, but very blonde-ish. And every time I'm next to him, I'm like walking around. Every time I see a minority, I feel like I have to go and be like, no, he's okay. He does not want
he's cool. He's cool. Yeah,
he is very cool. Actually, it's very like his
anti-racist
like,
skinhead. That's a thing. That's a thing up in Portland.
Yeah.
People don't talk enough about structural bald phobia. Honestly, you know.
I unironically agree. Patriarchy.
Okay, listen. I have Patrick Stewart, Jean-Luc Picard. He's actually a socialist. I don't know if you guys know that.
I know he's like kind of a cool dude. I didn't know that he was like outspoken socialist. But
yeah, he's an outspoken socialist, and in fact, he even played Vladimir Lenin. And I have a recording of him. Yeah. Whenever people come into my chat that annoy me, they get one of these.
Don't trust the liberals; they will betray you.
So, big fan of Patrick Stewart. He's a real one. Socialist comrade. And of course, like, it's funny because like a lot of those next generation people are now socialists. Partially because of him. What's her name? Counselor Troy. I think she like started as a Republican or something, and now she's a socialist. Now she's a socialist because of Star Trek.
I mean, also like
interesting.
In some ways, like Star Trek has always been like kind of like a woke production as well. So,
of course, yeah.
But you can also have him as a Nazi in Green Room. I don't know if you watched it. It's a decent film. It's kind of an action thing. Yeah, and there he plays a Nazi, but he just looks like a Lenin with glasses. So it's the lore in my brain just gets completely fucking confused. But it can be used
political
like
compass of
political compass. Which one are you? Do we have one where he's like lib the fuck out, and one where he's like bro, I love fucking children, which is
I feel like that's libertarian, right? No, I think like his most like lived out is maybe as Picard. I don't know, because he's like part of like the UN military, basically.
Okay,
like the UN science / military.
I'm a Star Trek defender because in Deep Space Nine is explicitly communist. They quote the Communist Manifesto in it, and there's.
Have you watched Picard? Have you watched Picard? Have you watched Picard?
Also, like,
I haven't watched Picard, actually.
Who quotes it?
Don't. No. It's
don't.
They just return capitalism. They're literally like, it's back. That's
but also, you gloss over who quotes the Communist Manifesto. It's the fucking Ferengi. They like
because they're doing a revolution.
Yeah, because one guy, his fucking brother is like abusing him at work or whatever the fuck. So he just basically goes like full communist.
In fact, the engineer of the ship, O'Brien, he talks about how he has an ancestor who was killed in a Pennsylvania labor revolts.
He was a union man.
Who was like a union leader who was assassinated. And so like it's a very explicitly left. And then the Ferengi, who are the hyper capitalists, they go through like literal like a social revolution, out of, capitalism to some sort of like Scandinavian bullshit. But the point is like the show is self-consciously challenging capitalism, like literally. And,
it is. It's
like the Next Generation did as well, but a little bit more subtly. They don't do it as explicitly as Deep Space Nine did.
Do you think it's cringe? I genuinely don't think it's cringe. Some people I respect a lot tell me it's cringe. I genuinely don't think it's cringe, and I would love to hear what the shared chat has to say about this. When you're explaining like what future communism or whatever looks like, literally saying Star Trek, I genuinely don't think it's cringe. It's easy to conceptualize. It's easy to see. It was exceptionally difficult for the writers to conceptualize a world that is better than ours, as we all know. It's much easier to write dystopias than quote unquote utopias, even though it's not. It's exceptionally difficult to contextualize and write a world that is quote unquote abundant, where it's post scarcity, stuff like that, which was so impressive that they wrote and so insanely fucked up that they fucking deleted basically after in like the last 7-8 years.
I didn't watch Picard, so I don't know.
Yeah, please don't. No,
Yeah,
it's
don't.
insane.
Yeah, stay away from it.
I reject all the modern treks, basically. Basically, like I reject all the modern trek. And the thing is,
I think like the J.J. Abrams stuff's like
yeah,
fun.
tell me,
fun
chat. Just
action,
tell us, chat. Is it cringe to be like, oh, you know, socialism, like future socialism, and the world we might be able to see is like that one out of Star Trek? Is it cringe or is it not cringe?
I think for me, the real value of Star Trek is like the post-commodity world, right? Like that's the hardest thing I think in our world today to like imagine, is like a world where no, literally everything is so abundant because of the the technology and means of production that we no longer value commodity, and like caring about that is weird. And the only like products that people value are things that are created by hand. So we've like solved alienation, right? You've only value things that have a connection to a human being, right? Or connection to something that you value or experience, as opposed to like, I have a Rolex. Like having a Rolex would be meaningless in Star Trek unless it was like handcrafted by an artisan, who could only produce so many for the purpose of like appreciating it. It wouldn't be based on like making money or profit. And so I think that's where it helps people conceptualize like society would go on, and like understanding ideas of like socialism. Like when we lose the easy status hierarchy of money, like the reason why so many people rebel against that is they're mediocre. So a mediocre person can't imagine being a super creative person or a leader or anything like that, but they can imagine having a lot of money.
So much.
Yeah.
So like the fixation on wealth is a fixation of the mediocre person. Is a person who can't imagine like being valued for their creativity or their insights or their leadership or their beauty or whatever, but they like the idea that they can take a lot of money and make other people serve them in exchange. Like that's really what the fixation is like. The value of being rich is the social power it gives you. That's what people want, and they want to be valued, and the only way they can imagine being valued is in this kind of tawdry way. And that's like the power of capitalism, is that's its appeal to mediocre people, is the fantasy. Like, look at Elon Musk. He's the most mediocre, dumb piece of shit motherfucker I've ever seen. He's not smart. There's a million Redditors that are exactly as intelligent and have the exact same opinions as Elon Musk. But he got lucky a couple times in very specific ways, and he was able to exploit it. He was able to, he got insights into like, oh, I can become hyper rich by manipulating nerds, right? I will talk about nerds' fantasies of the future, and I will monetize that, and I'll hype it, and then Wall Street will enrich me, and I never have to actually deliver because finance speculation will make me rich, and the fact of me being rich is all the value that I need to prove. I'm rich. It doesn't matter that that value was created off of hype and speculation that never actually came to pass. He was able to manipulate the system, manipulate people's psychology, and win. Obviously PayPal is an example of like, they had like 90 different competitors. Why did the PayPal guys get rich? Well, because that was the Western Union but on the internet competitor that eBay picked. The eBay users were using to sell their shit. He became rich because it's blind luck, and so our society is now dominated by some dipshit of blind luck, and it's like, no, I think we should have a little bit more rational of a system.
Yeah,
we to an extent don't argue enough on the basis of rationality very often. I mean, different people care about different things more than others, and when you're trying to explain why socialism is going to be good for you, some play on the moral or ethical compass aspect, some play on rationality in this system versus rationality in the other one. I often play on just the efficiency issue with capitalism, which
and how it benefits you, like compared to like because that's the one thing that has worked for me when talking to people who haven't like read all these like dense, boring, or annoying texts or whatever. People who like just kind of live their lives. The big thing that always kind of pushes them left is either they, through someone telling them that they could probably have better means, they could live a better life, and explaining how things are not working efficiently and not well right now, or it's them experiencing that firsthand. Like in Norway, there was this like big thing with like a unionization drive for, I think it was McDonald's or something like that, or Burger King, one of those. And the guy who did that stuff was like not at all political. And then suddenly he's now like a Labour Party guy, like, you know, left in the Labour Party, of course, but still, like, that's he went from nowhere to like at least there. I'd rather have him be further left, but those are like the two things that work on. It's usually never good to moralize. It's usually never good to be like, you know, this is like what you should be caring about, whatever, that kind of stuff. People are smart enough to figure this stuff out once you sort of like put the information in front of them.
Different people have different particular needs that have to be met, or particular insecurities that can be answered through systemic change. It's just important when you're trying to explain to somebody who for example, very in your face says, I do not give a flying fuck about, let's say, people that are in an economic situation so precarious that they cannot get out of. He literally says, not my problem. You cannot agitate socialism to this guy through the prism of ethics or morality or whatever. But you can when you tell him, but aren't you a fucking employee as well? Like, your boss looks at you the same way that you look at the homeless guy. He fucking exploits you every single day. He gives you crumbs. You're his financial fucking cuckold. And you love that beautiful, beautiful capitalist jizz. So how about you stop swallowing for a second and take care of your own particular interests and realize that he is unironically your financial and class enemy, and that might spark certain aspects of his personality that he cares about. Sorry, yes.
And also, like, if you manage to figure out like real material things, like real material, like tangible examples, then that is very powerful. Like, for example, nurses, at least in Norway, and I think in most countries, they have to show up to work in uniform before they get there, right? Every day they're changing for 15 to 30 minutes, right? That is not paid, but that's 15 to 30 minutes of them making sure that they're ready for work, right? If you tell them this, suddenly you know, gears start turning. They start, exactly, exactly. And then you add that on top of everything over you know, the course of like a year. How many hours of their life have they spent for their employer that they're not getting paid for?
Absolutely.
All this sort of stuff. These things. That's what people care about, because that's, you know, that's what's making their life worse.
Beautifully put. And when we're doing the reaction pod and we're looking at all of these, both like concepts, but also particular individuals from the right and how they agitate against revolution and even reform and so on, how they agitate against, let's all agree, like progress, let's call it that, right? They always attack on not multiple fronts, but like 150 different fronts. While on the left, very often, we're just like constantly sitting and repeating the same very well established and brilliant arguments. Don't get me fucking wrong. Most of them haven't been created like literally 150, 200 years ago, but arguments that are thrown back and forth as some sort of intellectual banter without ever having been applied to the particular conditions, as you further said, of that person, so that they can better understand how it's going to impact them specifically. The right does literally the opposite. Like,
it's all moral.
I mean,
it's all moral
you know,
arguments.
all segmented.
Yeah, because it's like, why are we giving these people stuff? They're not working enough, like that kind of shit. Like, no, that shit doesn't matter. It's not tied to anything material.
Here's the thing. Like, I think, like, when we look at history, there's like a problem with a lot of the people who think of themselves as super left wing. Is when you study like Lenin or the Bolsheviks, they were highly pragmatic and Machiavellian, and they said they ran on a platform of peace, land, bread. Okay. They were literally tailoring their message. It wasn't end capitalist alienation and blah, 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 blah. It was, you're hungry because the imperialist system is failing. I will feed you. You want land so you can stop being dominated by the absentee landlord. We're going to get you land reform for peasants. We're going to end the war, you know, World War I. That's a meaningless imperialist war. They went and they talked to the peasants, and they heard what the peasants and the workers were most directly talking about, and they tailored a message for that, right? And then they interpret it through the lens of socialism. And they talked about how all the problems that people were suffering, they reinterpreted it. And to, you know, not to say that Zoran Mamdani is a Bolshevik, I'm just saying that he had a similar practice of, I'm a socialist, right? And then he went after Trump won, he went and talked to people who voted for Trump, and he came up with his platform of like, you know, rent control and, you know, freezing the rent and providing free childcare, and then, you know, fixing public transit, right? Like all those
Absolutely.
were
But
directly
then he
related back to a socialist project, but he gave them concrete demands that they could understand and believe in, rather than something that is so theoretical and pie in the sky that regular people's eyes glaze over. It was a connection.
But also, exactly the connect, but also like you build the mass line, as you said, the particular pitch that he had, and other successful socialists also had. The baseline needs to be as wide of a net as possible that makes sense for the particular demographic that you're trying to talk to. But also, what the internet allows us to do, which he absolutely utilized like fucking crazy, that maybe the Bolsheviks did not need to, because most peasants had very similar peasant problems, and you could define their relationship with a state that carries out a successful revolution far easier to an extent when it comes to what you will get out of it. You did not have to segment it as much, but they didn't have the internet, so it was still exceptionally difficult to reach people. But nowadays you can unironically, my friends, do both, which, for example, the very successful Mandami campaign managed to do, where you do the mass line, the main pitch that applies to everybody, but then also have an incredibly well-segmented marketing campaign in which you talk to one demographic in one particular way and address very directly about how this mass line is going to positively impact New York Muslims, New York Jews, people that use public transport every day, people that are constantly
they also do that in a non-alienated way as well in person. That's the other. That's the other thing.
Also, kindergartens as well. Important kindergartens.
Mass line segmented and funneled and explained to different groups of people in ways that are adjusted to what's relevant for them, right? So mass line, but also adjusted. While back in the day, just mass line could work, but now you have the internet. You can, oh my God, you can segment so well, and not only internet, media, blah blah blah, and also of course people to people in smaller agitation, but lots of resources required. The best, like actual organizers going and door knocking, nothing fucking beats. But if you're wondering how can I use the internet to door knock better, the fact that you're asking this question makes me want to blow my brains out.
Well, we need
to learn a lot.
Well, I have to say that I think things are looking more optimistic by the day. You know, we obviously went through a pretty dark period, and there's more challenges ahead, but you want to see all the ways we're going to examine and rip apart the fascist movement and even more importantly, and this is, I think, the main part of our pitch. We enjoy making fun of these people. We enjoy making them squirm. We enjoy talking about their scandals and their embarrassments. And I have to tell you, that's part of my favorite thing about the Reaction Podcast is it's time for us to like fight fire with fire a little bit. Yeah. And that's why these guys
we're still too nice. You gotta agitate us to be more fucked up, Mike.
Okay, so true. So true.
We are very nice. Like
we are kind of like
treat
nice.
Treat them kind of like respectfully. We're like, okay, so what about like what from their perspective made them say this or whatever the fuck? Like sometimes they are kind of just dumbasses.
Well, I mean, I think
yesterday,
it's almost like
yesterday we went on. We went on a rant about these guys are just fucking stupid, and all of us immediately. I said it, and all of us immediately were like, maybe we should explain what we mean by fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with us? Like, we need to slap ourselves a little bit.
Listen, I think it comes from the place of being fundamentally empathetic, but at the same time, you know, we're in dark woke, okay? Like, I'm not gonna like tiptoe around, you know, this shit. These guys are scumbags. They're pieces of shit.
But
so make sure that you do, you know, I just lost my pin because it's been an hour. So make sure that you join the Reaction Podcast Patreon.
Right now, like literally, it's gonna cost you like absolutely nothing. Go and follow on one of your favorite what's called podcast platforms, or just click
YouTube,
subscribe on the YouTube,
Apple Podcasts,
so
whatever,
that it pops up, and then listen to a few episodes. Might be for you, might not be. The fact that you're a member of any of the three of our communities, probably a mixture of all, means that you will fucking like it. There's
Yeah.
very small chance. And if you enjoy the way we banter, there you go. That's the fucking vibe. Of course, it's far more formal and more researched, especially thanks to our amazing editor-in-chief, Freda. But it's this, but streamlined and something that you can unironically, which is very rare, especially for, I think, anti-fascist shows, send to your reactionary uncle or your fucking idiot friend, because our episodes
or a
are
liberal
stylized.
who talks about some weirdo reactionary we talk about, you know. Well, guys, why don't you go ahead and, because I gotta piss, so why don't we call it here? Why don't you guys promote all your stuff, and then you can hear us this Saturday with the next release, which is going to be on, who was it on? Oh,
Professor Zhang. Oh, your quote-unquote professor, yeah.
Yes,
fucking weirdo. Who denies the Second Punic War, by the way, which is the craziest fucking conspiracy theory I've ever heard. It's fucking weird.
All right, I'm going to throw a shout out to Freda.
To
Make sure you hit that follow button. And go
follow
ahead
me.
and
I'll be streaming some
spam your stuff in the group and the joint chat.
How the fuck do I spam my stuff? Like what fucking?
Oh,
let's see, YouTube.
Twitch or your YouTube? Yeah, Twitch. And
YouTube right there. And of course, my Twitch is right here. I make video essays.
Spam it.
On history.
All right, so Freda, explain who you are, where people could find you, and then we'll do Hugo, and then
my shit isn't working yet. Yeah, I make a YouTube video essays, I guess what the people call it, but I don't really like to call it that. I do history videos. For the most part, I confront online reactionaries, and a lot of the stuff that we do on the podcast, it was a perfect transition for me to go from what I do on YouTube to the podcast. Like my most recent video is on Matt Walsh and his quote-unquote documentary on the slave trade, ripping that apart, going through every single source he uses and everything. I read a fuck ton of books each video. It's gonna be great. And I'm also streaming games on Twitch, because that's my escape from having to read a fuck ton of books and write long ass fucking scripts with 100+ footnotes. So if you like that history focused games, usually weird games, Dwarf Fortress, Total War, shit like that, I'm playing Total War after this. Follow me there. Thank you.
Beautiful. Please do. All right, Hugo, you're up.
Hugo, I also stream on Twitch. I talk about things from a more international perspective, and I'm trying to genuinely build a community that is as large of an international community that I can on political Twitch. I look at everything from obviously a Marxian socialist lens, but I love talking about fascists in particular. Imperialism and chuds. We watch the news all the time. We talk about philosophy. My formal background is literally in that, and have a grand old time. I stream 4 days a week, usually 2 out of which are on the weekend, where this gentleman next to me, this lovely lad, takes a day off. So if you ever want some place to spend whenever, of course, your darling and your #1 lover Mike is not on, you can come hang out with me. It's very informal, very kind of all over the place. I like to say it's my streams are not like a classroom or a newsroom or a media room. You come to the bar, I run the bar, I'm the main bartender. You buy me a couple of beers, and then I tell you what to think, but you also tell me what to think, and we come to some greater understanding of the world around us and the problems we're facing and how to defeat them. So yeah, philosophy, politics, anti-fascism, international lens here on Twitch, and that's the main thing. The other stuff you probably either know about or it doesn't need to. So thank you.
Well, thank you guys for coming on. Obviously, you can find me in all the places. Here's my links. I also have I'm starting on my YouTube. I've been posting some highlights on there. Currently, I think I was making fun of Destiny or Ethan Klein. We were talking about various political developments in China. That's the type of channel I have. It's a anti-imperialist and electoral leftist of America. I've got a lot of different irons in the fire, so come check that out. All my various platforms. And of course, you can see me every morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, here on twitch.tv at Central_Committee, the originator of pro-China propaganda on Twitch. I'm only kidding.
Yeah, baby.
I'm only kidding, FBI. Okay, well, I will thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate talking to you guys, and make sure you subscribe to the Patreon.
Yes, subscribe to the Patreon, listen to the show. Thank you both for your time, And yeah,
Thank
expect
you,
a
too.
new episode on Friday. New episode on Friday.
It's Friday or Saturday?
Saturday. New episode on Saturday.
There you go. I got him.
Fucking podcast. I love you.
All right, love you guys.
Yep.
I'll see you soon.
Have a good one.
Have a good
Follow
one.
all three of us and have a good one. Thank you
Peace
for
to
your
you.
time. Bye
Peace,
bye.
peace.
Many kisses.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay. All right, chat. There you have it. That was the joint stream. I haven't had those guys on for a while, so I was like, we gotta do a joint stream. And I was like, we're doing it on Wednesday. Sleep Tiny, now activate. Oh no. Oh no, what did you do? What happened? Why are you like this? Why are you like this? What happened? Oh no. Deactivate? Activate. What the fuck is happening? Why is it like this? Why is it all zoomed in? Zoom out. What the fuck is going on? All right, hold on. Hey, you Gopnik Raiders, welcome on in. We are talking about electoral politics. I really got to piss. So let me, everybody just look at how, at my bookshelf. See if you notice anything while I fix this. Be right back.
Fans, that is not the freedom that I serve 4 tours defending. If you are an independent voice, why do you vote with Donald Trump 95% of the time? If you're so bipartisan, why were you the deciding vote to put Brett Kavanaugh on the Supreme Court? The deciding vote to defund our health care and our hospitals. Why did you rubber stamp the greatest redistribution of wealth from the working class to the ruling class in the history of our nation? Susan Collins is only bipartisan when it doesn't matter. Susan Collins calls herself the gold standard of common sense. Common sense would be Mainers not having to choose between seeing a doctor or paying your mortgage. Common sense would be banning billionaires from buying elections. And it would also be giving workers the same seat at the table as CEOs. Common sense would be a minimum wage that's a living wage. It would be keeping our hospitals open and our schools funded and our kids from having to fight in another generation of forever. Common sense would be releasing the Epstein files. Should be unafraid of upsetting the wannabe king to whom Susan Collins said she would only serve 2 terms. She's now running for her 6th. She has worked in politics longer than Joe Biden. She hasn't held a town hall since I was in 8th grade. I've held 83 town halls in the past 8 months. What are you trying to hide? Now, the truth is, Susan Collins doesn't. She serves Donald Trump. She serves the Epstein class. She serves her corporate donors and the corrupt political system that has rigged the economy against us. She does not serve us, and so we will defeat Susan Collins. We will take back this Senate seat. We will take back our power. And when we do, I want you to imagine, feel like when we hold Trump and his criminal enterprise, when we end prescription drug price gouging, when a trip to the grocery store, to the gas station doesn't break the bank, when everyone who was born in Maine, raised in Maine, and who loves Maine can stay in Maine. When we codify Roe v. Wade.
It's embarrassing. They said, I'm sorry, I like AOC and Rab, but their comments about Platner had my eyes rolling. They're embarrassing. And I love both of those candidates, but they're actually signs of their weakness in the sense that they don't feel like they have enough clout that they can tell people, hey, I'm vouching for this guy. They don't feel like they don't want to give up or take on any risk, which I get. But at the same time, our movement is not going to be able to survive if we allow people to be picked off one by one by Zionists. Zionists have each other's backs, lock, stock, and barrel, right? Every Zionist was unified in attacking Platner. The anti-Zionists are allowing people to get picked off one by one, and it's just not going to work. It's just not going to work. Either we are fighting back and we have critical support for everybody who's getting attacked by the Zionists, or else we're going to be picked off one by one. We're going to be defeated in detail. That's how a smaller army beats a bigger one. A smaller army and Zionists, there's very few Zionists. There are more people that are members of DSA than are members of AIPAC. Does DSA have the pool of AIPAC? And the answer is no. It's because whether you are a far-right Republican or a liberal progressive except Palestine Zionist, all of them are unified in attacking Graham Platner. All of them. Every single Zionist is against him. Not one Zionist is looking at Graham Platner and going, oh, well, he's fine. Because they understand what's at stake. Why don't you? Why are you not able to understand that? That they're after this guy because he challenges Israel's connection to the American empire. Israel depends, it is an active colonial project of the United States. And if we withdraw that support, Israel falls. They know that. Why don't you? Platner antis will listen to the speech? No, they won't. Platner antis don't listen to Graham Platner. Platner antis don't listen to Graham Platner. They absolutely don't listen to him. Because if they do, they get caught in cognitive dissonance. And they have to do blatant rejectionism. They have to go, well, he's not really, he doesn't mean it. He's lying. That's what they have to resort to. I heard chatters say you'll never get black socialists to support Platner. First of all, every time somebody speaks for an entire movement, they're doing a fraudulent act. Stop distancing yourself from your opinion. Say, this socialist XYZ. I won't XYZ. Every time you try to gather up something as diverse as black socialists and make them into an amalgam, and then you put words in their mouth, that's fucking racist. Say, you won't support that. Say, I won't support him, and then why? Don't try to distance yourself from it. Don't put it in the mouths of other people. Stand on your own 2 feet. Stand on business. Make your argument. Make your point. And don't rely on id-pull bullshit to argue against it. Make a fucking real point. It's the same argument people made. It's the same argument people made against Bernie Sanders. Did that advance socialism in America? Did that advance the cause of black people? I want to know. I really want to know. And by the way, the problem with Bernie Sanders is not that his policies were not intersectional. They were intersectional. If you consider yourself an intersectional socialist, Bernie Sanders' defeat was your defeat. And if you distance yourself from that, you're lying to yourself. Because Bernie Sanders wrote his policies from an intersectional lens. That is the reality. Now, his presentation was that of an old white man. An angry old white man. And maybe that presentation hurt him with some of the populations he was trying to convince. But if you're an intersectional socialist, his defeat was your defeat. And if you have delusions about that, then you are unorganized. And I'm not going to be shy about that. I'm so tired of people sitting back and acting like they're a critic and they're not involved. If you're unorganized, if you're uninvolved, and if you're not taking personal responsibility, then what the fuck are you? We're not living and watching a movie. This is history. Are you making it or are you observing it? You're like, that's the question that needs to be asked.
Pass Medicare for all. But when we defend our democracy, country, let it be kind, not merely a romantic freedom that is material. The freedom to start a family, to raise your kids under a roof that is your own. With the promise, security, the guarantee of time. Time to build, time to create, time to love. The freedom to live lives not of struggle and scraping by, but of dignity and fulfillment.
There's no such thing as black socialists and white socialists. We agree on every single thing. There is no distinction. Not correct. Because you live in a white supremacist society. I have white privilege because I am white. And black people are treated a certain way because they are black. Right? And I will be given the benefit of the doubt by, in certain situations, that they won't. And that's wrong. However, the solution isn't to then like have white socialists be unfairly judged like black socialists would be. It's to fight back against the unfair judgment of black socialists. Is to give grace to black socialists. It isn't to remove grace from white socialists. It is to give grace to black socialists. And if you want, I will be there. And I have been there. And I will be there to advance black leaders in the socialist movement. Whether it is Summer Lee, whether it is Chris Rabb, whether it's Gregory Hartzell, whether it's Keith Ellison, whether it's Ilhan Omar. I have been there every step of the way behind black leadership, and I have fought against them being like using old tweets from Ilhan Omar or try to call various Muslim or black women anti-Semitic. I've been there on the front line defending them, and I will continue to do so. But I'm not gonna go like, oh, it's not fair that black socialists are treated poorly, therefore I'm gonna like sabotage Graham Platner. That doesn't balance the scales. That serves the interests of capital. So I find that argument to be true, but also, I mean, it doesn't argue against supporting Graham Platner. In fact, I was there to support Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman while a bunch of ultras were leading protests against them when they were fighting in the fight for their lives against Zionists. I was standing against those people and saying they're fucking stupid, and I was getting roasted by the so-called ultras as black socialists were being targeted by Zionists. I was there defending them, and these ultras were attacking them. Now suddenly they love them again. Because why? They're out of power. They got defeated by Zionism. Now are they permanently defeated? No, defeat is a temporary condition. And so we push back, we fight on, and I will continue to support them. But if you want to have a socialism that says, I want no grace for white men in the socialist movement while whiteness exists in America, then you are creating a self-defeating movement that will never succeed because you're giving the fascists exactly the fucking caricature they claim leftism is, which is no one can ever change or improve or grow. What the fuck is that? That isn't leftism. That isn't rehabilitation. That is not anti-racism. That is interpersonal bitterness being passed through some sort of fucking pseudo-politic. Give me a fucking break. And I'm not going to back down from this position. If this is your position, fuck you. I want people that are comrades and solidaristic and that are going to recognize who our enemies are. If you think I'm your enemy, then treat me as an enemy and stand aside. It was liberal wreckers that pitted black folks against Bernie and pivoted off that one rally when two black women interrupted Bernie and he got it over. First of all, and I want to say something, Bernie said that that absolutely should never happen again. And if you see the way Black Lives Matter was co-opted by liberals and scammers and then diffused, it's because we did not build it into a permanent socialist organization that was cross-racial. We allowed it to be captured by idpol grifters and then defeated and destroyed and erased. That was disgusting. Okay, black socialists are a monolith now? Absolutely not. That's exactly my entire point. That's what I started this whole debate with. Maybe you just dropped in. Black socialists are not a monolith, and nobody speaks for all black socialists. And anybody who says they do is, I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, I would never say I speak for all socialists. I speak for myself and myself alone. And I will make arguments from my point of view. And I will listen to your point of view. But if you're going to try to co-opt everybody of a certain race for your argument, that's bullshit. I don't care who you are. And like, I want BLM to succeed. And I want a working class cross-racial coalition. And it has to be functional. So when, you know, like we'll bring up the Chris Rabb thing because I feel like I want to train you guys not to be idiots. But I also want to talk about, you know, where I disagree. Did I cover Ethan suing? No, we're gonna get to that.
Maine, the eyes of the nation are upon us. And while they are here, please go to GrahamForSenate.com and make a donation or sign up to be a volunteer.
I'm pretty sure I have had Pascal Robert on the show, didn't I? I did. I brought a couple black socialists from the, what was their podcast? It was years ago, chat. What was the podcast called? Really, really cool. This is Revolution podcast, I think. They were, and we talked about this because I'm a white guy. I don't have credibility talking about black issues, and I shouldn't. But I'm also not going to allow like liberal idpol bad faith attacks to shut me up. Because I mean, at this point, are we gonna let that work? Are we honestly gonna let people go, you're white, therefore you shouldn't be able to organize? Like, we're really gonna let that? You're gonna be convinced by that? Really? He won by that much? Yeah.
There's an old saying, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If you want to
I like
stop...
Pascal, but he's a Mamdani and Platner skeptic. He's wrong on them. Like, period. He's wrong on that. And honestly, like, I get why. There is a pessimism that came in with Bernie Sanders won. And a lot of people think the world is fixed because Bernie lost. And they think, oh, it's hopeless. We can't do it. They boo-hoo. They get in their feelings. They lost once. And now they're like, we can never win, and it's all rigged, and it's so unfair, and we'll never win, and because Bernie lost, and it's impossible, and it's overdetermined, blah, 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 blah. And that shit is baby shit. It's baby shit. It's embarrassing. Just means you're not a veteran. And when I say veteran, I mean somebody experienced in conflict. Because it is not just one glorious swoop of victory. It is constant setback. It's constant resistance. It's constant reversals. That is what progress actually looks like. When you zoom out at history from 10,000 feet, it looks like a upward slope of progress. But if you zoom in, you see the recessions, you see the reversals, you see the failures, you see the reactionary movements, you see the losses. If you can't handle it, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the fucking kitchen and stop with your doomerism and pessimism. It's embarrassing. A lot of left-wing movements went through a hell of a lot worse than we're going through. We lost an election. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. People didn't vote for Bernie when I was convinced, and it means it's impossible. I worked really hard. I knocked a lot of doors. Yeah, did you knock every fucking door? No. Conditions will continue to evolve and develop, and we'll have another chance. History doesn't end. Get over it. I used to make fun of liberals for hyperfixating on 2016, but now the problem is we've got these elder millennials fixating on 2020 and 2016 like it was the end of fucking history. It was an attempt. It failed. We learned some things. We made some progress. And we're going to have another shot at it. History is going to keep turning. And things are getting better for us, not worse. Mamdani is a sign of us winning, not losing. And yeah, he's going to do stuff that I don't agree with. He's going to compromise. He's going to be forced by the conditions around him, specifically the NYPD's political power, into accepting things that he doesn't want. But I don't know if you noticed, the Zoran Mamdani sewer socialism idea is fucking working. Normies love the guy. More and more people are excited about socialism. It's literally working exactly as we said it would. I could go on social media right now and find a 300,000 like tweet about Zoran Mamdani talking about some bullshit local issue and everybody going like, oh man, we love Mamdani. We're so jealous. You can literally see it working. So what are you so fucking pessimistic for? It's embarrassing. Get your shit together. Lock the fuck in. I got my Doomer sibling to join DSA because of Zoran's victory, and now they're hella involved in DSA and a bloomer. Exactly. Doomerism is liberalism leaving your body.
If you want to stop war with Iran and end the forever wars, if you want to give workers the raise they deserve...
Listen to what he's saying right now. If you're an anti-Platnerite, listen to what he's saying right now.
If you want to stop war with Iran and end the forever wars, if you want to give workers the raise they deserve, seniors the security they worked for, you want to bring back Roe v. Wade, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If you want to stop a Trump family slush fund, their ballroom, their deals with Saudi princes and tech oligarchs, if you want to stop the corruption, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. If we want to dismantle ICE, win back the Senate, check Donald Trump's power, and take back ours, as Maine goes, so goes the nation. Together, we will defeat Susan Collins.
The reason why the anti-Platner people don't watch Grant Platner is because if you listen to that, you're going to like it. That's the truth. And it's going to unite Libs all the way to socialists. That's why he's got 74% next to his fucking name against a sitting governor. He was just smeared, bipartisan smear campaign from every Zionist in the world. And he's got 74% next to his fucking name. And that's why the anti-Graham Platner people don't show you Graham Platner speaking. And they just do lazy personal attacks because they are not serious people and they are cynical grifters. That's what it's about. Cynical grifting. And I'm tired of it.
Together, we will win back this Senate seat.
You've been listening to Graham Platner addressing supporters after clinching the Democratic nomination for U.S. Senate in Maine.
And like, listen, I have my criticisms of Graham Platner, right? I've got my criticisms of Platner. I have things about him that bother me. But we are in the fascist epoch. You are either on the side of defeating Israel or you are on the side of Israel. You can't stand back. This isn't a fucking ball game. It isn't stan culture, but it's also not a joke. Giving oxygen to the lies is fucking embarrassing. No politician ever does what they promise to their campaigns. One of the things about political science is that it's important to study it. It's important to actually study it. If you're going to talk about it for a career, you should actually study it. Politicians keep their promises. Not always. We can all think about the times that they broke their promises. But politicians keep their promises way more often than they break them. Because of course they do. Promises are made to interests that support them. By breaking their promises, they are damaging the interests that got them into power. If a politician makes a promise, it's because an interest that supports them has sufficient power to influence the politician in order to make them make a material promise. A politician that makes no promises is a happy politician because then they don't have to do anything. But no one can win the majority of votes without making promises. It's an acknowledgement of material power. When a politician makes a promise, he's acknowledging the material power of those that want him to make it. That's basic politics 101. Actually 101. And I feel like if you don't know that politicians, for the most part, try to keep their promises, then you are stupid. You've actually fallen for something really bad. A recent article by my favorite political scientist, Jonathan Bernstein, points out the consensus in his field is that campaign promises are a very good indicator of what policies a president will enact. Obama promised to make healthcare a priority, and he did. George W. Bush promised testing based on education reform, and then did so. And remember what George H.W. said? Read my lips. Brussels sprouts will not become the national vegetable. Don't worry, it's still a cauliflower. In one major study, Bernstein discusses politicians kept 75% of their promises. And the ones they failed to keep were prevented by obdurate Congress rather than the president maniacally laughing and saying, those suckers believed every word. Ma ha 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 ha. This is basic shit. If a politician is saying a promise, he is acknowledging the political power of those that want him to say it. That's the part of the game. I can't believe we're having this conversation. Like, this is actually really frustrating for me. This is actually extremely frustrating for me. Like, this is one of those things where it's like, wow, people really have no idea what they're talking about. They really don't. Yes, politicians sometimes break their promises. That's absolutely true. But if a politician doesn't promise you it, he'll never do it. So Susan Collins is promising you to fund Israel. You think she's going to break that promise and break with Israel? Susan Collins is promising to protect Donald Trump's judicial appointments. You think she's going to break that promise? Are you stupid? Like, what are you saying? What are you saying? It doesn't even make sense. Like, I'm so fired up over this because I can't believe it. Now, it's not to say that Graham Platner is going to be able to accomplish all of his promises, right? Some of the things Graham Platner is promising, Medicare for all. Is he saying, if you elect me, I will be able to pass Medicare for all in 2027? If you asked him that, he'll say, no, Donald Trump is the president. He'll veto it. Medicare for all will not be able to be enacted until at least 2029. But I will be one of those votes. I'll be one of those co-authors. So if you want Medicare for all in 2029, you got to vote for me today. Because unfortunately, that's how our system works. The president gets a 4-year term. Then they have to get a new president in there, a new Congress. You have to have a majority of both chambers. You have to overturn the filibuster. Then they'll have to sign it. So is he lying when he says he supports Medicare for all? No, he supports it. He's one of the people behind it. But in order for it to happen, a certain bunch of things have to line up. I hate it when liberals talk about Civics 101, but this really is an example of Civics 101, right? Graham Platner or Bernie Sanders are not breaking their promises for Medicare for all. They're being stopped because they're in the minority. They don't have enough power. They don't have enough allies. They don't control the White House. And I don't know if you guys noticed this, but Donald Trump is doing almost everything that was in Project 2025 or whatever the fuck it was called. He's doing it. He is actually keeping most of his promises. In fact, even the wars thing, he made a lot of promises to the Israel lobby, and those are the promises he's keeping. The no more wars shit, that was rhetoric. That was obviously a broken promise. But the real promise, when he was fucking hugging and kissing Zionism and Zionists, he kept all those fucking promises. What does Donald Trump care about Israel for? He's not Jewish. He doesn't give a shit. He's getting bribed. They've got power. He promised them what they want. They supported him. He kept his promise. It's just not true. The real question is why so many Americans are skeptical of political promises. I think the answer is that broken promises are often much more salient than fulfilled ones. Once troops leave Iraq, then we will mentally mark that as done and forget that it was a campaign promise. We just think of it as one of Obama's things that he did. But when George H.W. Bush promised no new taxes and then raised taxes anyway, that's highly salient to us. Psychologists have long been fascinated by people's innate abilities or inabilities to estimate simple statistical patterns in events they experience in real time. It turns out we do all right, but we have a lot of biases that impact our judgments. One of those most glaring ones is that we tend to overweight salient events in our estimates. That's moderately interesting when it applies to undergraduate study participants guessing the next number on a computer screen. But it's a global importance when it comes to the action of 300 million participants choosing the next president. Like, I'm sorry, but like, come on, man. You got to be better than that. You got to be better than that. Jesus. And like, you know, and the reason why I'm having these statements, guys, is because it's not a joke anymore. You know, right after the presidency, you know, right after the presidential election, the year after that, there's not a lot we could do at the federal level. There's no congressional races. There's not a lot we can do to change things. Things are locked in. And we have to talk about building up a reaction to what's going on, right? But now that we're in the real shit, we're in real primaries. We're going for real power. I can't tolerate the stupidity anymore. I can't. I'm sorry, guys. Like, we got to get it locked the fuck in. And it's not because, you know, and the anti, you know, I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was an anti-Platner candidate from Blue Sky. I'd love to earn a first place ranking on your ballot tomorrow. Please check out my website and let me know if you have any questions about my positions. Andrea LaFlame. She got good luck tomorrow. Those of us who don't get to say in your ballot boxes are really rooting for sanity and decency to prevail in the state of Maine tomorrow. She got 700 write-ins, 0.4%. Are you part of the 75%? Or are you part of the 0.4%? I need you guys to lock the fuck in. I need you to lock the fuck in. It's important to note that every anti-Platner person is extremely marginal and totally irrelevant for regular people. They might as well not even exist. Similar demographic to anti-Trump Republicans, a media and Twitter creation. I mean, every one of them. What if 5 people here in Maine disagree? Bro, I don't know if you know this, but even in Maine, there are people who don't know who Janet Mills or Graham Platner are, and they just randomly mark ballots. He is literally got 144,000 votes. This is an unprecedented number for this primary turnout is insane. 200,000 turnout is fucking crazy for Maine.
Running our government the way Platner. I'm not a fan of Mills. I don't believe that she's running our government the way that it should be. It should be run by the people, and I believe that is doing.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's just embarrassing. And, I know it's tough for you to hear this, but the self-marginalization behavior, it's got to end. We're going to need every ounce of energy. If you're in Maine, you are all in on Platner because we need that win. There's no space. There's no room for maneuver. I wanted to show the Chris Robb thing. Fuck. Does anybody have that? It was on Breaking Points, right? Oh, here it is.
So to discuss the future of the Democratic Party this morning, we are very fortunate to be joined by Pennsylvania State Representative Chris Robb.
He's already got 400,000 more votes than 2020. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was a presidential primary year. Oh my God. That's phenomenal.
He is the Democratic nominee for
listen,
Pennsylvania's
I
third.
want to say this. I love Chris Robb. I do. Just as I love Summer Lee. And I completely understand being concerned about somebody like having an experience like Fetterman. But it's also a ridiculous position. And it is not at all. Fetterman was not campaigning with Bernie down the stretch. He was declaring his allegiance to Israel. He was leaning against the left, not toward it. And fundamentally, when the stroke happened, he changed. Like, it is what it is. The fact that we got betrayed once, it's gonna happen.
Congressional district. Welcome, sir, and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So I wanna watch his comments, because here's the thing. I like Chris. I want to give advice to Chris as humbly as I can. I don't know better than him. I'm just going to tell him what I believe from my experience with literally talking to hundreds of thousands of people on a regular basis. We are in a Schmittian time. It's the friend-enemy distinction. Either you're on our side fighting against the enemy, or you are helping the enemy. Every time you try to triangulate and do this shit, people are going to be mad at you. You're not picking up anybody by doing that. And if you do it, you're only going to harm your own reputation. If that's what you feel like your conscience demands, okay. But understand that you're going to pay a price. You're going to have less support.
Yeah, of course. We followed your election with interest. You had a lot of powerful forces going against you, a lot of interesting things that happened there. What do you think is the message that your pretty, clear-cut, fairly overwhelming victory in this primary sends to the party?
Yeah, it was a stunning defeat of entrenched politics here in Philadelphia, in the bluest congressional district in the entire nation, where we had not had an open seat, no incumbent on the ballot, first time in 35 years, against a political class that was united against this progressive. And it was a 15-point win. And I think it's a resounding affirmation that organized people beat organized money every time.
And you seem to be taking a very, I don't know that it's a novel approach, but you've gone out of your way to go and campaign for other candidates, both incumbents who you support, like Summer Lee, who you're likely to serve with in Congress, others who, are challenging incumbents and are running sort of upstart campaigns across the country. Why has that been important to you? What role do you feel like you are serving and that you want to serve?
Well, to be clear, I'm a movement candidate. And that means the movement has allowed me to have a collective victory. And that means that whatever political capital, whatever momentum I have as the presumptive next member of Congress for the city of Philadelphia means I got to pay it forward. And it's also in my best interest. I want to come in with this largest, boldest, progressive class of members in U.S. history. So the only way you can do that is by showing up for others who are viable, substantive candidates. And I'm really excited about our not just taking back the House. I mean, there's a big difference between having a Democratic majority and having a party that knows how to lead in the belly of the beast and in the most adverse times in modern history. Those are two different things on the Venn diagram of national politics. So I want to make sure that we have a critical subset of Democrats who are going to vote in furtherance of shared prosperity and fighting fascism and taxing the ultra-wealthy and having structural changes that the base is demanding, but corporate Democrats refuse to acknowledge or commit to.
You were critical of Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, which became a campaign issue, actually, for you. One of your opponents had some pretty interesting things to say about that. But I'm just curious, since you have won the Democratic nomination, just so people know, Pennsylvania's 3rd congressional district is one of the most Democratic in the entire country, so very much expected that you will be sworn in with the next class of members of Congress. How has the party responded to your victory? Have you had any outreach from, the sort of establishment leaders of the Democratic Party?
Oh, absolutely. They've all reached out to me quickly, and I appreciate that outreach. We got to build relationships. We got to figure out how we can work together. But I would push back a little bit. I wouldn't say I was critical of Hakeem Jeffries per se, but it's just when someone tries to, say, will you support him? My answer is, what is any candidate for majority leader, for Speaker of the House? How are they how is their leadership going to resonate with how I got elected to office and who else is running? I don't know who's running. So, you know, I think that's important. It's not about.
By the way, I just want to pause it here and say I have absolutely no problem with this answer. If you have a problem with this answer, you don't understand legislative politics, which is fine. It's not something that you're going to be, unless you are actually in it. What he's saying is there's going to be a Speaker of the House. I'm open to a left-wing challenger, but I'm also not going to be some intransigent loser who says I'll never vote for Hakeem Jeffries, because then I would be lying to you. If that's the choice for Speaker and it's the only one, or the alternative is a Republican in a closely divided House, he'll vote for Hakeem Jeffries. Every single Democrat is saying that, including Rashida Tlaib or Ilhan Omar. It's because it's a coalitional politics. If you want him to be an abstentionist, he's not going to do that. You know, he's not going to be an abstentionist and let the Republicans control the House. That's all he's saying. And quite frankly, that's fine. Whatever. I don't really care that much about it. I think the answer is not very well argued, just like from the point of view of understanding your audience. Like, I get what he's saying and I don't have a problem with it, but for like non-initiated people, they don't know what he's saying.
The individual, it's about who seeks that position to what end, and that has to be aligned with the electorate and the constituents I seek to represent on January 3rd. But I also know that it's a body of 435. You need 218 votes to get anything done, and we have to figure out what we can agree on, and the things we can't agree on, how those of us who are left of the party to move the party forward. And those are things that have to happen simultaneously.
So you'd say you're not a no on Hakeem Jeffries as potential speaker, but you're a we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I need to know who's running, right? I mean, the reality is he could be the only one on the ballot, right? So it's a non-issue there. But that's not, to me, that is
part
not.
of the problem that we have, and he's pointing it out, it's very important here, is who is going to be the left-wing alternative for speaker, right? Like, who on the left is going to run for speaker? I think a good example of somebody who should do that would be Ro Khanna. You know, I think Ro Khanna would be a great candidate for speaker. You know, I don't see him going in any other office. And he's somebody who seems like he has the political wherewithal and the energy and the ambition. I think Ro Khanna is a great alternative, or someone else. But what Chris is saying here is an important point. Who is actually the alternative? And it's and that's what I would say. I would say, you know, one of the things I want to do when I get to DC is help build up a progressive leadership slate. I want to see who on the left and in the progressive wing is ready to step up for leadership in our party. That's how I would answer the question, instead of saying I'm going to vote X, Y, and Z and Hakeem. I'm opposed to the current leadership that we've seen in Congress and their hostility toward the left. So I would like to see change. But I can't I can't nominate someone if no one's running, you know? And I'm not going to let the Republicans control the House. Hi, why do you make everything political?
Not as important as how we hold whomever is running and whoever wins to account. And that's not based on my personal preferences, or it's based on how I got elected. If those leaders work for the members put them in those positions of power. How do we hold them to account, and how do they express their willingness to do the things that a larger subset of Democrats in Congress want? And, you know, that is going to be a back and forth. You know, we also have to understand, too, that for the folks we may not prefer in leadership or in office at all, but who are going to be there serving in whatever capacity, for those of us who are there with them, our responsibility between election cycles is holding our own colleagues to account and moving them towards the moral center, not the political center. And that is something that people should want their newly elected incumbents to do, because, listen, we have a clear villain here. You know, it's Trump, it's MAGA extremism, it's fascism, it's late stage capitalism, it's any number of things. But we can't make our colleagues the enemy. They may be not on the same page with us, but it's our responsibility to make them do better. And we have seen some progress when we have, not myself quite yet, but others in Congress get some of their colleagues to stop taking AIPAC money. That's a win, and we need to.
So, okay, so what you're seeing here, chat, is an experienced legislator. That's literally what you're seeing. You're seeing an experienced legislator. An experienced legislator understands that you have the campaign, and then you look at the situation, and there are marginal allies, there are comrades, there are allies, there are marginal allies, there are persuadables, and there are intractable enemies. And your job is to move people and get shit done. Like, that's what a legislator does. It's not just like soapboxing 24/7. He wants to actually accomplish things. That's just what a legislator, that's the legislative politics, which is different than electoral politics, right? And I don't know if you noticed, but Chris is out there fighting to get as many allies as he can. He's endorsing in primaries. He's campaigning with people. He's helping them. So I think Chris is actually showing to me a lot of leadership, and it's exciting. Now, when we get to the Platner comments, then I'll see if I disagree or I agree.
Respect that, and we also need to understand that that comes with certain risks for the people who have been funded by folks we don't believe they should be funded by, which also means we need to support them if they're truly understanding of why that dynamic is so problematic.
I wanted to get you to weigh in.
I mean, listen, like, if we're going to actually like sanction Israel, it's going to involve some politicians that used to be Zionists giving up Zionism. There's going to be some politicians who are in office who are going to say, I renounce Zionism and I vote for the sanctions. We want that to happen. That being said, doesn't mean we don't primary those people. It doesn't mean we don't go after them, right? But if they win their offices and they're still willing to give in, then you let people give in. That's how you win.
On what's going on right now with Graham Platner up in Maine, because I do think it has some important fissures here in terms of the direction of the Democratic Party. You know, his ideological program and yours not exactly the same, but you're more or less in the same lane and have, you know, similar views of the world, and certainly, you know, have been clear-cut, clear-throated opponents of genocide, of AIPAC funding, and the influence of the Israel lobby. He has faced a number of allegations, some of which he's, you know, acknowledged that he had a very rough go of it after serving in the military, that he had a drinking problem, he has PTSD, that he engaged in toxic behavior in relationships, other aspects of which he's completely denied. There was an allegation from a Republican political operative that he had grabbed her by the shoulders forcefully, that he had yanked her by the hand out of a cab, that he had put her arm behind her back and pushed her inside of a room. Again, she says this occurred. He denies it. And the New York Times was unable to confirm it. I wonder what you make of the allegations and also what has been seen as extreme scrutiny into his life that doesn't seem to be matched with a level of scrutiny into others who do not challenge the oligarchy and do not challenge, you know, AIPAC and the status quo on Israel as aggressively as he does.
Yeah, you know, this is challenging for me because I've felt that folks who have been identified as hard-scrabbled, populist, left of center, white guys get far more leeway than folks like me, black progressives. And that's a double standard that is largely based on race. And I think that's a conversation we need to have. If I had some problematic tattoo that related to white folk, I don't think I would be viable, even in—
I think he's totally right, by the way. I don't have a problem with what he's saying at all. I do think white guys are given more of leeway. But I don't think the solution is let's prevent left-wing white guys from getting leeway, right? Like that doesn't, it is to give black leftists leeway. It's to stand with them and give them leeway too. It's not to like go, oh, let's attack white leftist guys for getting leeway and therefore empower the fascists. Donald Trump is a fucking rapist. He was, can you imagine if Graham Platner was found liable for sexual assault in a courtroom? He wouldn't have been viable either. So there's clearly a double standard between left-wingers and right-wingers. And yes, white leftists get more of a leeway than black leftists, but they get a hell of a lot less leeway than Republican fascists. All right? I don't think the solution is to be like, we're going to throw Graham Platner in the trash for a Zionist. I think the solution is, I'm going to defend Cori Bush. I'm going to defend Summer Lee. I'm going to defend Jamal Bowman. I'm going to defend Chris Rabb. I'm going to defend Keith Ellison because he was called anti-Semitic because he has association with Nation of Islam. I was one of the first guys to defend Keith Ellison. I was one of the first people to defend Linda Sarsour. So I'm going to be defending all the people of color, socialists and leftists, with the same exact energy as I defend Graham Platner. I promise you. I swear you that to be the fact. Okay? So don't worry. Don't you worry one iota about that. I'm not going to throw any black leftists under the fucking bus for anyone. Okay? But I totally understand what he's saying. He's right. There's really nothing to disagree here. He's right that black people are treated, they're judged at like an unbelievable standard, and it's bullshit. And I'm going to fight back against that. But I don't think the solution is to like punish Graham Platner. That doesn't solve anything. That helps Zionism. That helps the right.
In the majority black district.
Didn't a black guy get elected after saying the kids of Republicans should be killed or something? Okay, first of all, undecided voter. I swear to God, if you post another dumbass fucking poorly written statement in my chat, you're going to get a week timeout. Jay Jones, who was a black Democrat, had some, private messages where he was like, fuck them kids about Republicans and shit. And they were funny and clearly not, and I had his back. I said, vote for that motherfucker. And when he won, it was great. So yes, I do think that, but he was still judged harsher, right? Because, but you're right. You're absolutely right in the fact that, listen, we've got problematic black people elected. That's awesome. Good. I hope we get more.
Because I think the money would not be there for me to run the campaign I needed. I think there's a clear double standard that the left has to talk about as it relates to our racial politics and what is acceptable. I also have PTSD. I have actual PTSD. And I also have political PTSD because in this state, we elected a fake populist in Fetterman. And when I feel Fetterman vibes, I get very, very nervous. I don't know Platner. I've not followed his race closely. I've had, a grueling 10-month
politician answer, but I'll let him have it. He's followed it closely. Like, don't ever believe a politician is not following shit closely. That's a lie. Okay, but it's okay. It's fine. We're allowed to say that shit. Who cares? But it's not true. He's definitely following it close. That being said, again. This is totally fair. This is totally fair. You're allowed to say, hey, we learned our lesson with Fetterman. Got a Graham Platner? Show us. That's okay. He's not saying fuck Graham Platner. This is actually completely fine. I can't believe anybody was overreacting to this. The reason why people are overreacting is, as I said before, I understand the epoch we're in. We're in a fascist epoch. It's the friend-enemy distinction. If I had the ability to talk to these politicians in private, I would tell them, we are now in an era where if you do any triangulation at all, people are going to be mad at you. They want you to fight the enemy. Okay? That's what they want you to do. Fight the Republicans. Fight the right. Every time you criticize our own side, even for good reasons, people are going to lose their shit. They're not going to like it. It's not me that's directing this. It is grassroots energy. The reason why Graham Platner is going to win is because people hate Trump. And what they like about him is he says, I'm going to fight them harder than anyone ever has. That's why they're ignoring his scandals, because he's feeding them red meat. He's saying, you want to stop Trump? You want to stop the ballroom? You want to stop the wars? You want to stop Israel? I will do that. And so people are fucking hyped because he's talking about the shit. And the fact that he's unpolished is making them think that his promises are good. If he was slimy and slick and had a perfect resume, they'd think he was a calculating politician. But the fact that he's got skeletons in his closet, they make him more credible in his promises because he's a normal guy and normal people keep their word. The fact that he's not polished is part of the fucking authenticity of him and why he's winning. It's not that complicated. Well, I mean, it is if you're stupid, but I guess I'm explaining it so everybody understands. I think I understand voter psychology better than almost anyone else currently, like analyzing politics on these online spaces. And it's like, it's part of why Steyer lost. Why did Shoycott and Steyer lose? They're rich guys, so their populism is inauthentic. Nobody believes you. Nobody believes a billionaire wants to tax the billionaires. Nobody believes a tech bro is going to rein in the tech bros. That's why you lost, because of inauthenticity. Platner's winning because his scandals make him more authentic, not less.
Campaign I'm just coming out of. So now I'm really seeing what's on the landscape of opportunity in the House and the Senate. But I do think we need to hold space for folks with genuine grievances, and we need to have a process for those folks who.
John indicated his concern was that he's not willing to engage critique with individuals to the left of him. Why would he empower? Who's to the left? Who's to the left of Graham Platner running for United States Senate? Here's the thing, and I don't mean to, like, I'm not trying to be dismissive here, but this is talking around shit instead of actually doing it. You guys understand the difference between making a criticism and talking about making a criticism? It's like the difference between talking about cooking dinner and giving someone a recipe. Like, what are you talking about specifically? Like, what criticism are you talking about? Instead of talking about the criticism, what is the criticism? If a black guy had a Nazi tattoo, had Platner's politics, he would probably get more benefit of the doubt. Black guys less likely to knowingly get a Nazi tattoo in most people's minds. I don't know about that, man. First of all, I don't know about that, man. I don't think that's true. I think people would just think he was really spooky. It's a very stupid hypothetical. All right, you just need to take 24 hours. You've made like you are an advanced troll. I actually have to tip my cap. You are a very advanced troll. Like, you know how to say shit that's like incredibly damaging to like the discourse. And I'm kind of respected. I respect that. Like, you are actually good at it. Like, I don't think that guy's stupid. I think that person is an incredibly intelligent troll. They know how to say the most annoying possible shit that I have to respond to, or else people will be like, Mike's chatters are saying racist shit. You know what I mean? Like, actually good troll. So I got to give you a 24-hour out of respect. Powerful. Forget the tattoo. Could you imagine if there was an allegation from an ex-girlfriend of Rob's? Oh, that's perfect. Oh, that's a much better comment. Exactly. Like, if there was a white woman who was accusing Chris Rabb of being handsy, he would have been fucking cooked. That's the reality. Even if she was a right-wing fucker, you know, that's true. And I think it's also totally fair for women to feel skeeved out by Graham Platner. I actually completely understand why they would be. Men are not okay. But when we're talking about mass politics, you know, like when we're talking about mass politics, we're talking about delivering on the like policies and the issues that are actually going to make our world better. Graham Platner is on side. Now, we've been wrong before. You know, sometimes there are people that betray us. It happens. But a mature political movement can withstand betrayal. A mature political movement has betrayals and then defeats them. Like, if your political movement has no betrayals, it has no members. It's just something that we have to be able to withstand. John Fetterman is probably going to switch to the Republican Party after the midterm. Like, he's not at the end of his betrayals. He's going to betray more. But I don't think anybody would blame everyone who voted against, you know, Dr. Oz as being, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to do what he does, okay? Because he's a shill for Israel. Graham Platner is not a shill for Israel.
Are expressing legitimate concerns about the behaviors and choices of candidates, but to do so in a way that is in the spirit of restorative justice, as opposed to the spirit of...
By the way, is the spirit of restorative justice to say he's a veteran with PTSD, therefore he should be part of our movement, and we should give up a Senate seat to Zionism? Is that the spirit of restorative justice? I think Graham Platner is trying to evince restorative justice. And part of restorative justice, part of the reason why people don't support it is because they don't believe in it. Like, they don't believe we're actually going to have it. They think it's a scam. So when you have an example of somebody who's gone through the process and is actually pro-social at the end of it, that actually makes restorative justice look more credible. When you have a former bad person who becomes a good person, people could look at that and go, oh, it does actually work. It's like rehab. If you have a bunch of people that quit a drug, then they believe the rehab works. But if nobody ever comes through rehab and comes out the other side a good, escaping their addiction, then nobody believes the shit works. So this is an example of where we could say, hey, this guy was somebody that we don't support, and now he's become a good man. This is how we do it. That will enhance restorative justice, which I believe in. And yeah, I think in Maine, a 95% white state that has more veterans than most other states, having a fucking PTSD alcoholic millennial who comes out the other side as a left-wing populist makes us more likely to seize power. That may not work in Northern Virginia. That may not work in Philadelphia, although I think it would. It may not work in California, right? It may not be the candidate for Santa Monica. It might not be the candidate for Manhattan Island, okay? But it certainly is for Maine.
the politics of personal destruction. And I think that is something that is really, really necessary, because what we don't want to do is to silence or erase the voices of people who have felt real harm, particularly women. But we also have to make sure that we do not feel that there's a class of candidate that has to be perfect. There are no perfect candidates. And we also have to make sure that those candidates acknowledge their faults. Everyone has them, and how we work through them. So if he said, I have a, I understand when someone says, I made a bad choice as a young man and I was struggling with addiction and that sort of thing. We need to hold space for that. But you also may have intervening years or decades where you did not do any further introspection about what you've done, so that you can feel a sense of atonement that other people can value as legitimate long before you ever considered public office. We can hold those two truths at the same time.
So you don't believe he's done sufficient atonement to have sought public office?
I don't know. I don't know. But I think that is something that needs to be addressed before November 3rd. Absolutely.
Isn't that up to the voters to decide?
Well, it's not just voters who decide who's a viable candidate. Viability is also based on how much money you raise, what your platform is, how you come into, are you a movement candidate, or are you a candidate who says the right things in the right political moment to be aligned with a movement that shows considerable political power? I don't know. I've not watched his candidacy that closely to answer those questions, but those are conversations that need to happen within community and not on social media.
So he, just to be clear, he was a movement organizer in Maine, which is how he came to the attention of people to encourage him to run for office. The primary is today in Maine. His, opponent, main opponent, was the former governor, or current governor, Janet Mills, who has suspended her campaign.
Here, there's one other thing that I want to say. And and it's going to be to give more support for Chris. Chris is not just me. He's not me. He's not you. He has a responsibility to the movement of Philadelphia socialism. He cannot just throw shit out there willy-nilly. He has to defend the trust that has been placed in him. Same thing with AOC. They are not people that are just freewheeling on social media with their opinion. They have a responsibility as a leader to not harm people, right? They're not in Maine, okay? They are in Philadelphia, and he needs to make sure that he doesn't give aid and comfort to the enemy by speaking out of turn. And I think everything he said so far has been totally fair. Now, that being said, I think the timing isn't that great. Like, it is what it is. I think if he had been asked this like 3 months ago, I would have been totally on it. But the reality is if you haven't seen what, like, he's really answering a hypothetical, like, what would you want a flawed candidate to go through in order for you to feel confident? And then he's answering that question. He's not judging whether Graham Platner has or has not done those things. He's just talking about the concept of, like, how do we balance all these things? And he's giving a totally fair answer. I don't really even have a problem with it, other than Graham Platner is running, And it is also June. I think it's a good and intelligent political maneuver to go to not rush to silence everything. Like, it's also a good political maneuver for us not to be seen as like shushing all the women, right? It's a good political maneuver to be like, all right, let's listen and let this stuff air out, right? Because if Graham Platner is having like stuff still coming out, it's not intelligent for all of our movement leaders to immediately rush in. Okay, like it's good to give a little bit of space for it to air out, to have these conversations. He's not condemning Graham Platner. He's not calling him a piece of shit. I haven't seen anything. He's had a very mature conversation. It's just people don't want these kind of conversations anymore. It's not the energy of the time. Right now, people are in bloody warfare. We are in trench warfare against fascism. And Graham Platner is a huge weapon. And that's the reality. And like people don't want to like look at chips in the paint. They want to deploy him to fight Trump. And this is like an incredibly well thought out, mature answer that's really responsible. And makes me have all the more faith in Chris, to be honest with you. I thought it was going to be worse than this. If anything, this makes me feel all the more secure that Chris is one of our leaders. I have no, like, he hasn't done anything to knife Graham. He really hasn't. But he hasn't done anything irresponsible either. Like, I don't really have a problem with anything he said.
You know, she is not particularly ideologically aligned with you. You know, she's much more supportive of our status quo with regard to Israel. She has, you know, done things like veto tax hikes on the rich in the state of Maine. She's had an adversarial relationship with labor unions. You know, if you were looking at this race, like, do you think that voters would be better off choosing her because she's had fewer personal controversies than Graham Platner?
No,
By the way, this is an incredibly tough question. Jesus Christ. My goodness. Crystal is not giving him any space to breathe. And honestly, respect. Like, Crystal is giving, this is a little more adversarial than I would be, but I respect it. Again, this is what happens when you go on these shows. If you're going to try to, like, be a politician, you're going to get politician treatment. I think everybody in this has acted. Did people think this was bad? Am I insane? All I've seen is Chris is an intelligent, skilled legislator. Chris is holding space and being responsible with the movement he's been entrusted. He's explaining restorative justice in an actionable way. I mean, unless he gives a really bad answer right now, I don't see a problem. But I guess we'll see.
It's a matter of how we hold the people who we would prefer in office to account. I think that's the issue, right? Because sometimes we vote for people. Well, sometimes we vote for people, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we vote for the person who we have a better chance of holding to account and making sure that the candidate functions similarly once in office, right? Because it's very easy, particularly in these moments, to campaign as a progressive. It's radically harder to govern as a progressive. And I speak as someone who is currently in legislative session here in Pennsylvania in Harrisburg, in the largest full-time state legislature in the country. It is very hard to govern as a progressive. And so how we hold anyone to account, myself included, is by making sure that they fulfill their promises that they made in the campaign, on the campaign trail, and making sure that they will sit down in earnest with people who have genuine concerns and priorities that may not be fully aligned by the time someone wins their primary.
One more on this, because you mentioned
which is completely fair. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that answer. In fact, I think it shows a level of sophistication that is rare among a congressional member, which is he's saying, like, listen, Graham Platner is running as a progressive. Let's see. You know, it's easy to run as a progressive as a campaign, but when you get into office, then that's another thing. And, you know, it's going to be hard for Graham Platner to prove him wrong until he gets into power, right? That's really the only answer to that.
You got Fetterman vibes from Platner. I want to explore that a little bit more. So Fetterman and Platner have actually been going back and forth with each other. Fetterman's been attacking him. Graham Platner has been responding, I think, called Fetterman an asshole. Let's go ahead and take a listen to a little bit of how John Fetterman went after Graham Platner.
For me, as a Democrat, I'm never going to carry water for a guy that calls, you know, an American hero a dumb MFer, or someone that, you know, smears Chris Kyle, you know, the American sniper, and claim that he's shooting innocent civilians. I mean, you've literally lost count.
Based. Double based from Platner. Platner's so fucking based, man. He shot on Chris Kyle, like, come on, guys. You don't want this in office? This is great.
And he also called rural Americans as racist and stupid. It's countless. It absolutely is. This is a guy that had a problem with me, how I dress, but he seemed to have no problem posing in a towel at a disgusting website that consistently had serious problems about that kinds of depravity.
So I wonder if you could respond there to Senator Fetterman, but also I am curious for you to elaborate when you say that Platner, you're getting Fetterman vibes from him. What is it specifically that you're responding to there?
No, I wasn't specifically referring to Platner regarding Fetterman vibes, but here in Pennsylvania, I get that when people say, oh, I like what you're saying, you know, you seem to be right on all the issues, but how do I know you're not going to be the next Fetterman? So that actually applies to me as well. When people are very traumatized in Pennsylvania and beyond, when they think that they're electing a progressive populist and they get something very different. I don't know Platner enough to weigh in on that specifically, but I can tell you that, you know, I don't know how many black folk you're polling or talking to, but all I can say is we need to have more conversations about what accountability looks like for folks who are running to the left, and making sure that we understand the intersectional nature of progressivism, and ensure that folks' racial politics are aligned with the populist politics that are trending so well these days. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's well understood. So last question for you, Representative, is, you know, when/if, but looking like when you get to Washington, what will be some of your first priorities you would like to work on there? How will you operate in a way that you think is different from how a lot of other members operate?
Sure.
I think like I respect both sides of this, to be honest with you. On the one hand, like Chris has, as I said before, legislator responsibility, you know, talking hard truths about how easy it is to speak progressively, but instead of like having a track record as a progressive, I think he's 100% real on that. But the other thing is, like, and I agree with Crystal as well, which is you got to get on side right now, right? Like a lot of this conversation that you're having, like, I agree with you, but there's a time and a place, right? And right now we're fighting against the Zionists, and we're trying to get as many anti-Zionists into office as possible, and dithering around and like showing weakness or showing gaps in our lines is going to be exploited by the other side. So I think both people are right. And I respect both sides. But the other thing is, Chris is not attacking Graham. He's very, very scrupulous about not attacking him. He is giving voice to concerns, but he's not attacking him. He's just saying, hey, here's some legitimate reasons, and it involves me too. I don't want people to have, you know, people are always coming to me and asking about Fetterman because he betrayed us. So that is a worthy thing to consider. We need those people on our side if we're going to win. And I agree with him completely. So I don't think there's a problem.
Well, just to be clear, I'm not an optimist by nature, but there's no Republican on the ballot, and there are more raccoons than Republicans in my district. So I think it's safe to say that I'll be in Congress on January 3rd. So we have to de-Trumpify Washington, D.C. All the choices, appointments, cuts, all of the structural fissures and such, we need to do what we can to restore or prepare for their restoration. And we also need to build a bold vision in a post-Trump world. And, you know, frankly, that may happen long before 2 years. What does that look like? So he's been a wonderful villain, but, you know, people are struggling. They need to know what Democrats envision for a society with people closest to the pain struggling like never before, and making sure that we are clear with that message and consistent, and make sure that we hit all of those people, particularly folks who, generally speaking, the Democratic Party counts out and disregards, who really should be centered. The people closest to the pain, young people, poor people, black folk. I'm going to keep bringing up black folk. If we do not take care of black women, we will lose, and we do not deserve to lead if we do not understand the primacy of black women. When we help black women, we help everybody.
Future Congressman Chris Rabb, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button.
Amazing. Again, I really don't feel like it's that big of a deal. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. DSA Dem, I don't like this title. This title is bullshit. Fetterman vibes, DSA Dem. He literally said he didn't say he had Fetterman vibes. He said he was talking about what Fetterman vibe, like the worry of Fetterman vibes. Like, he didn't call him he literally corrected. This like title sucks. Speaking like a corporate, you see what I mean? Like, again, nothing he said was wrong, but the problem is people don't want dissembling. Like, it feels like dissembling. Whenever a guy says we need to have more conversations, I could have predicted this kind of response. Because I understand the world we're in. Like, I understand the world we're in. people are just not, they just don't tolerate that shit anymore. They just don't care about that shit anymore. Like, and it seems like you're giving aid and comfort to the enemy, even when you're not. So I think people are overreacting, but I also think like it's a lesson for Chris, right? Which is like a lot of the how do I put this? Okay, I wanted to do the Graham Platner video. I think this is it, because he went on Morning Joe. The woke one kind of like way of speaking doesn't work anymore, and if you're going to be talking to general audiences, but they don't like it. They hear it, they sniff it out, and they reject it. So if you're going to like, and I think a lot of that presentation came across as woke one. And Graham, you know, like that's really what it came down to. And so, you know, I don't think he actually said anything I disagree with, to be honest with you. The problem is, I feel like you are allowed to just shut the fuck up. You are allowed to just say no comment. You're allowed to say, I don't know enough. Can we stop with woke one, woke two? Absolutely not. It's one of the most important ways of understanding politics going forward. It's a very quippy and easy way to understand. It's not that woke is wrong. It's just a presentation and community style that failed. We needed a reformulation of left-wing politics. It is a useful heuristic. And I feel like the reason why Chris is getting that pushback is because it's not, his messaging is not calibrated well. He could have just said, listen, my number one priority is stopping AIPAC. If Graham is on board with that, I'm on board with him. As far as the other issues, we need to look into, we need to make sure that we are prioritizing women and women's safety. And I know that if the people of Maine entrust Graham Platner with the Democratic nomination and he wants to be on the progressive wing, he's got to have to make sure that everyone feels included. And that's his obligation. And that's that. You know, you don't have to keep going and talking and blathering on. You could just be like, hey, I don't really know the guy, so I can't give him a personal recommendation yet. I'm like the rest of you. I've only seen him from across the country. Philadelphia is not in Maine. Like, you're allowed to say that kind of shit, but people are still not going to like it. You know, they want you to be like, no, it's all the same fight. AIPAC is against the left. I support Graham Platner. That's what they want you to say. If you're not willing to say it, being quiet is the best thing for you. And AOC is going to get the same shit. If AOC says, oh, I've stayed out of that race, she's going to be sniffed out as inauthentic and doing politician shit. So if you want to be called inauthentic, if you want to lose shine with people, then do that. If you don't, just shut the fuck up. I call that woke one because that's what it is. It's woke one.
And Graham Platner joins us now. It's good to have you back on the show. Congratulations on your big win.
Graham, congratulations on your big win. And now the tough part starts. Obviously, you have seen sort of this crescendo. You've seen the New York Times story. You've seen the accusations about the sexting, about the tattoos, about yesterday it was about some NDA that somebody said that your team did. We'll get to all of that. You know how I know we'll get to all that? We'll get to all that because Meek is here, so she will make sure we get to all that. I want to ask you first, though, a couple quick things. We've been talking about Iran, obviously, for the first 30 minutes of this show. The president should not have gone in our opinion, but he's in there. How do we get out in a way that working class voters won't be hammered every time they go to the gas station to fill up their trucks or cars?
I mean, I think the real answer here is we simply have to stop engaging in military operations against Iran. And in long term, I'll be entirely honest, I think we need to start pulling troops back from the region entirely. I mean, my entire life has been essentially defined by America's wars in the Middle East. And here we are, almost 30 years, well, really, if you look back at the Gulf War, even longer. And what has it really brought us? I mean, we just get a mass amount of debt, spending a ton of taxpayer money, expending the lives and, frankly, the futures of a whole generation of young American men and women, and bringing an immense amount of violence to civilians in the region. I think long term, I mean, no one's ever been able to explain to me what like fighting in Iraq did for the state of Maine. And I think the reason no one's been able to explain that to me is that it didn't do anything, or at least nothing positive.
Right.
And so I do think long term, we really need to be thinking about rearranging how we think about projecting power around the world and in the region. But right now, I mean, the longer we engage, the longer we give, you guys were talking about it earlier, we give the Iranians the ability to control the tempo. We have no control over the tempo of this thing. We have no control over the outcome. And yeah.
I'm sorry, we have a delay. I was just going to say the difference for Mainers on Iraq and Iran is what's happening in Iran is actually impacting working Mainers even more than the tragedy of Iraq because of the Strait. I wanted to ask you something about the difference between you and Susan Collins on this issue, because a lot of people that went to vote yesterday had microphones stuck in their face and said, well, what do you think about all the controversy surrounding Graham Platner? And they said, well, we don't like it. They seemed, some reports especially disturbed by the sexting stories. But they said, we don't like it at the same time. And then they listed all the things that Susan Collins had done to hurt their families, to hurt the state of Maine, to hurt the economy. And so they were kind of, some people were gritting their teeth and voting for you. And again, we'll get into that in a second. I'm curious, though.
The blood is on their hands if Susan Collins wins. Somebody said, the blood is on our hands if he's another Fetterman. The blood is guaranteed to be, is already on their hands if they help Susan Collins. Susan Collins is guaranteed blood. Graham Platner represents the chance not to have blood on your hands. That is the choice. Like, like, even if you think he's at 50-50 odds to be a Fetterman or whatever, that means 50% chance he's not a Fetterman versus Susan Collins, which is 100% a failure. And the reality is probably more like he's 95% chance to be the most progressive member of the Senate after Bernie. Maybe even more progressive than Bernie. If I had to make a bet, I would say that 2 years into his time in the Senate, he will be in the top 5 most left-wing members of Congress. And that's not a compliment on him. That's a sign of how marginal our politics actually are. Make Graham Platner look conservative is my goal, and not by yelling at him, but by having so many left-wingers in power. The fact that he isn't openly a socialist, a DSA member, will make him look positively conservative.
For those people, and for Republicans that may want to vote against Donald Trump and what he's done over the past 2 years, spell out the differences on this issue, on Iran, between yourself and Susan Collins.
Because of my military service, and I did 4 tours in the infantry. I fought in both Iraq and Afghanistan. I saw up close the human cost of war. War to me is not something to be viewed as a game. It's not something to be viewed as a power play. It's something to be viewed as the single last resort for anything, because I know what it looks like. I know what it smells like. I know what it feels like. And I know the struggles that come after. I want to be a very loud voice in the United States Senate, pushing back against the kind of, frankly, military adventurism that has brought us the last 30 years. And Susan Collins is the exact opposite. Susan Collins voted for the war in Iraq. She continued to support it long after it seemed like it wasn't working. Even just the other day, when asked about those votes, she justified it by saying, well, it was because of 9/11. I mean, I was under the impression in 2026, we were all quite aware that 9/11 had nothing to do with Iraq. But here we have a United States senator who is supposed to wield an immense amount of power and know a lot about the state of the world, who still, all this time later, can't even bring herself to admit that she supported an illegal war built on lies. That does not engender a lot of confidence that she'll continue to make decent judgment calls. And I mean, the Iran stuff is also perfect evidence of this. She's been supportive. She will occasionally try to say, like, oh, I don't like it. But then, of course, when push comes to really shove, I mean, she voted for the war, I think, 5 times at this point, or at least did not vote against. And so, I mean, for me, if there is any, I mean, there are a lot of very clear distinctions between myself and Susan Collins, but on foreign policy and on war, I don't think you can get one that's more clear.
Right. You talked about some of the problems that went along with service in the military for you and the other men and women who've so proudly served this country. With all of the controversy. By the way,
listen to the way normies talk about veterans. If you hate veterans, if like being anti-American veteran is your whole thing that you wake up in the morning to do, You are so fucking marginal, it's insane. And by the way, I'm not saying that you have to love veterans. I'm saying that for Americans, that kind of politics is basically less popular than being a Nazi. And that is very true. So part of the reason why the left has been unsuccessful in stopping the genocide is we don't control enough political offices. We need to control more political offices.
With the scandals, so-called scandals, it depends on voters' point of view on whether the controversies are scandals. A lot of it, you have said, had to do with PTSD when you came back from service. And my God, I know families for generations have seen loved ones experience this, even when they didn't call it PTSD. The lawyer in me, though, wants to try to figure out what's the timeline. I was going to say without getting too personal, but I guess you kind of need to get very personal if you want to represent the people of Maine in the United States Senate. Give us a timeline for your struggles with PTSD and how you believe it impacted you personally and explains many of the character failings that you yourself have talked about as you've tried working through these. What's the time frame for that PTSD, and where are you now? Are you still experiencing, again, I speak in ignorance because I didn't fight in Iraq and Afghanistan or any war, so forgive me if this last part is ignorant. Do you ever get past PTSD, or does it stay with you?
So I'll just say, I mean, look, much like any kind of treatment or therapy, much like getting over any kind of trauma, there isn't like one day where you're not doing well, and then one day you're magically good again. It's a journey. It's a long journey. It requires, at least in my case, it required a lot of love and support from my community and my family. It required a lot of support from the VA, which I'm very lucky that I got. I got home from my 4th deployment in 2011, and I got out of the Army in 2012. 2012 to 2016 was pretty dark for me. I was in Washington, D.C. I was going to college, but I was not. I felt very isolated, very, very alone. At that point, was receiving no treatment whatsoever. I came out of the infantry in a time where we just didn't really talk about the fact that we were all suffering. You know, it was this whole idea that we were just going to be tough and get through it. And it was not an effective solution. In 2016, I moved back to Maine. When I came back here, for one, I got involved in the VA system, which then gave me access to a lot more treatment than I had access to in DC, and things began to improve. But it's a journey. I mean, I left DC in a pretty dark place, and it took me a number of years back here in Maine to really kind of find myself. I will say the single best thing that happened to me is in 2017, I was exposed to oyster farming, and in 2018, I started to do that full time, and from 2018 to last summer, that's what I did. And sitting on the boat out in Frenchman Bay, looking across at Acadia National Park, talking to the seals and the eagles and relaxing with the bivalves, that honestly did almost more for me than anything else. But it's continuous. And I wake up every single morning just trying to be a little bit better and a little bit kinder than the way I was before. And you know, eventually you just get to a point where you begin to feel much more fulfilled and much happier. And yeah, for me, around 2021 was when I really started to feel like I was myself again. And, but you know, I still go to therapy, still talk to my doc. My wife, Amy, and I, we still share and communicate like our kind of true selves to each other, which is, of course, as you guys probably know, always a bit of a struggle. But it's one that is incredibly fulfilling and well worth it. And it's made me I think, very, very happy and very fulfilled person.
Well, first of all, the sights and sounds that you described from Frenchman's Bay to Acadia National Park, I know very well, and I could see how that would actually bring a lot of clarity. That it's a beautiful, incredible way of life.
I love the way that these like coastal libs relate to Maine as like summer boat trips or whatever the fuck to tour. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, Jesus Christ, shut the fuck up.
The way life should be. And I also think that a lot of families who have struggled with their tours of duty in the years after can really appreciate what you're sharing, and also showing that therapy is not a weakness. Therapy is building strength, and I can appreciate all of that. If I'm in your campaign, or if I'm high up in the Democratic Party, at this point, I have a few questions in terms of the health of your campaign moving forward into the general, which is a whole different ballgame. So here's my first. You were asked this question by Chris Hayes about the issue of, is there more out there? What else could be out there that might be revealed during the campaign? And you deflected, said, among other things, this is between you and your wife. It was understandable to a limit, because for Maine voters in a general election, the question is, what is out there? What is not in your possession that you sent to others who may have in their possession? How many concern?
All right. It is very funny for Mika Brzezinski to ask this question, because isn't she sitting next to her paramour? Isn't she sitting next to someone she like cheated on, or he cheated on her with? Like, isn't she literally in a glass house? Like, isn't she a cheater? Like, isn't her and Joe, like, don't they have a cheater relationship?
Burning pictures and or text messages are in the possession of other people that could be used against you. And I'd like to know if there are pictures, concerning pictures.
I will just say that the nature of Amy and I's relationship has been blown, I would say, totally out of proportion. Early in our marriage, we had some struggles, and we worked through them, because that's what you do when you're in love with somebody. And it made our marriage much stronger, made us, frankly, a much happier and communicative couple. I was single for the majority of my adult life. I was in my 20s and 30s, and I dated. And, you know, that's in the modern age, that's what happens. You date people, and you use dating apps, and you do all this stuff. And frankly, that all happened long before I got married, and happened long before I decided to run for the United States Senate. I can just tell you, there is nothing out there that is going to will run counter to any of the stories that I've talked about openly this entire campaign. And I know everyone continues to be like, oh, what else is coming? You know, ironically,
right,
the whole what else is coming has essentially been the same thing the whole time, which is I've been very open about the fact that I struggled, very open about the fact that I had a long litany of failed relationships for years, because I myself was not in a good place. And then every now and again, we will have a media outlet or a politically motivated attack come up and try to drag it all up. But it's all very much within the exact same story that I've told this entire time.
Okay, so you say there's nothing out there that could be concerning. And this may seem a little bit rich.
There's nothing out there. I just want to make this clear. There's nothing out there that's actually concerning. People will make everything seem very concerning, because that's what people do in politics.
I mean, thank you so much for fucking saying it. Holy shit. Can you imagine, like, if I found out a friend of mine 5 years ago had sexted in his marriage, and he and his wife had worked it out, I would have been like, bro, that's not cool. How are you guys doing? And you're like, yeah, we're doing really well, and I've been going to therapy, and you know, blah, 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 blah. I would be like, all right, man, I'm glad that you guys are healing, and, you know, and that would be about it. You know, like, I wouldn't even, like, I would file it away. I would go, okay, he did a dirtbag thing. Maybe have a conversation or two about it. And then I'd move the fuck on. I wouldn't be like, oh my God, he's the most evil piece of shit, and I can't believe it. Oh, I'd rip my hair out. I would just be like, okay, you know, like, that was a fucked up thing you did. I'm glad you guys worked it out. Glad you're apologetic, you know. Like, what are they expecting people to react to this news? It's barely even news.
But, you know, I think the thing about all of this is what I find to be kind of most curious is this is what everyone wants to make the campaign about. So we do not talk about the struggles of working Mainers. We do not talk about the fact that I know someone in my hometown here who works 3 jobs and pays over 60% of her monthly income in rent. I think that matters a lot more than the details of my relationship before I ran for United States Senate. That's just me.
Okay, so then let me ask you this way. Can you just talk about the nature of the sexting in terms of, can you call for the...
I wouldn't ask my best friend this shit. I wouldn't be like, all right, man, it happened 5 years ago, but what happened? You know, what was in there? What kind of flirting did you do? Was there a dick pic? Like, what the fuck are we saying here? This is so weird.
The release of the Epstein files, and can you call out those who
let
have
me see those DMs, bro? Like, what are we saying?
Abused women and not be conflicted in any way?
Yes, of course. I mean, I engaged in consensual romantic activities with adults at an earlier part in my life. That seems like a fairly normal thing most people do. Going to an island with billionaires to possibly assault children is a vastly different thing.
What an absolutely batshit crazy question and best possible answer. Best possible answer. Even cheating, which is morally wrong, that is something that you handle within your wife and your friend groups. It is not a crime. You guys would know, right? Aren't you guys? Did you cheat on your spouses to get together with your boyfriend? Joe Scarborough?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you wish that this had come out earlier and in your own way?
No, I mean, this was a very private thing for my wife and I. And the only reason it's out is because we confided in someone we trusted on the campaign, who then went and broke that trust. So it's, I mean, Amy and I have a very strong marriage, and it's mostly strong because of some of the challenges we faced early on and the work we did to get through it. So no, I mean, I'm not happy it's out, but it's also, it's not again, I would say it's been entirely blown out of proportion as to what the reality of the situation is.
Mr. Platner, good morning. Let me ask you about the race ahead now that you won by a wide margin last night. Susan Collins hasn't really had a close race in a long time. 6 years ago, it was under double digits. She won by 8 points, but there always seems to be this idea, because Maine in presidential elections goes blue by and large, that this is the time that Susan Collins is going to be defeated, and yet it never seems to be. So why do you believe this time Mainers will walk away from Susan Collins, as I assume you believe they will?
Well, I believe they will because I am a normal Mainer, and I have lots of normal Mainer friends, and everybody, Republicans, Democrats, Independents. A lot of people in this state are sick and tired of someone who, for decades now, has not really stood up for the people of Maine. Someone who will not hold the Trump administration to account. Someone who has gotten quite wealthy while in office, trading stocks and bonds, which is a very unpopular thing for those of us down here that don't have stocks and bonds. Someone who promised to protect Roe v. Wade and then went and voted for Brett Kavanaugh and brought about the destruction of a woman's right to choose in this country. Those are real things that people see there, and they bring about material realities for us down here.
Like, Susan Collins is like, to give some analysis of this, like, Susan Collins represents a type of Republican that used to exist, the so-called liberal Republican of the Northeast. There used to be Republicans in the Northeast that were pro-choice, maybe even pro-union, they come from the upper crust management class, the PMC class, country club Republican. Maybe they were a little bit cosmopolitan. Maybe they know French, a kind of like upper crust preppy guy, blue bloods, WASPs. And Susan Collins is really the last one. They're pretty much extinct. And so we have seen a lot of places, where that were historically democratic that have gone more and more Republican with Trump. And Susan Collins represents the counter, which is like New England whites finally getting rid of the Republican Party, because the Republican Party is really the party of neoconservatism and neo-Confederatism, which is very unpopular in the Northeast. So that neo-Confederate, Southern Baptist, George W. Bush drawl that put on shit, it doesn't cook in the Northeast. So Susan Collins really is the last of her kind.
On the ground. And I am fully convinced that people in this state are sick and tired of this kind of politics as usual, like corporatist establishment politician, which Susan Collins really is the avatar of. Now, I will say this. The Republican Party, the people that donate to Susan Collins, the people that support her, they know the stakes of this thing. And so they are dumping millions of dollars into the state of Maine in attack ads against us already. We'll say for anybody who's watching at home, if you want to see Susan Collins beaten, please go to grantforsenate.com and donate. We can definitely use the help. But the stakes of this are so high because we really are looking at, is this country going to be able to go in a direction of a politics that is accessible, a politics that is representative of regular people, and then a politics that therefore represents regular working people? Or do we maintain the status quo? Do we maintain a politics that allows for billionaires and corporations to continue to get richer and richer and richer year after year, while those of us that work for a living work harder and longer and for less? And I think the answer to that up here in the state of Maine is people want change.
As you've been hearing for months from your Democratic opponents, and now will grow louder with the Collins campaign and Republicans even nationally, the argument against you is that all of the comments that you've talked about and addressed and said you were at a bad time in your life, the past comments about black people, calling yourself a communist, talking about police, talking about armed resistance for the working class, they say that's who you...
Against fascism, bitch! Against fascism, bitch!
Really are, and that you've kind of cleaned yourself up to run this campaign to get into the United States Senate. So how do you, for people just kind of tuning into this race, perhaps even in Maine, but certainly nationally, how do you address that criticism? Because it's kind of at the heart of the argument against you, which is you actually are that guy from 10 or 12 years ago, and that you polished yourself for the election. What do you say to that?
I would say that they really do not grasp what is happening up here in Maine, because they continue to try to make this race about me. And what they fail to understand is it's not about me at all. It's about us. It's about Maine. It's about the working people of this state. And since this thing started, we have been told time and time again by supposed political geniuses who are professionals.
Sorry, chat. Sticks is hunting General Sherman. See, when Sticks came here, he was a kitten, and he's doubled in size. And so he's been kind of he's been chasing Shermy around lately.
Really know what they're doing, that the campaign was over. Why even try? It was sunk. And we've been counted out time and time again. And then it doesn't happen. And the reason is that they count us out. They're trying to count me out. And what they forget is that it's that they've been counting out working people for so long that all of us down here in the real world, we want to see a different kind of politics.
She just got him.
And this is the difference, I think, between the punditry, the difference between the national media, and then the reality here on the ground. This entire race has been essentially living in two worlds. You've got the national media level, the larger discussion, all the politicos talking about what they think is going to happen. And then there's Maine, where something else entirely is happening. It's why we won last night with a huge margin. And we're just going to continue to do that. I'm going to continue.
Is Sherman named after William Tecumseh Sherman? Yeah. Her name is technically General Sherman. Sherman is her nickname.
To go out all over the state of Maine. I've held 83 town halls in the past 8 months. Susan Collins hasn't held one since I was in 8th grade. I have talked to tens of thousands of Mainers. And people come and they can ask me questions directly. We don't screen questions. I don't believe in a kind of politics that is not accessible. You have to go out and talk to people directly and hear from them directly if you think that you are going to go represent them. That's what we do, and that's frankly why it continues to work.
Well, we wanted to keep you for the full 3-4 hours, but you have to get to Bar Harbor. And apologize to your campaign for us because they said he's gonna miss the event. We appreciate you being here, but with apologies to my executive producer and also your campaign staff, I have one more question for you. Susan Collins, the last time she ran, won by 9 points in a state Joe Biden carried by 9 points. We've never... I mean, that's how things used to be when I was younger. It hasn't been that way in a very long time. So she has shown extraordinary resilience.
Central Committee is not sharing political beliefs, but rather showing clips and reacting to them. I don't think there's another political stream that talks more about their political beliefs than me in the entire world.
Nobody knows that better than you. What makes 2026 different?
One is that Roe has now been overturned. I mean, people often forget this, but in 2020, we tried to hang the millstone of Brett Kavanaugh around her neck. But materially, Roe still stood. She could still point to it and tell people, no, it's okay. I know what I'm doing. I'm protecting a woman's right to choose. We now know that that was an entire falsehood, and that has now entirely changed. And then there's just the other element, which is that I don't know what it's like for a lot of folks around this country, but I can say that here in the state of Maine, things have gotten significantly harder down here in the real world. You know, I live in eastern Maine. We are down to 2 birthing centers in this part of the state. There were 6 when I was born. We are watching rural hospitals across the state close because of the Medicaid and Medicare cuts out of the one.
Actually, Joe Scarborough gave him a really good question, and he's nailing it with substantive policy.
Beautiful bill that the Republicans passed to justify tax cuts to corporations and the ultra wealthy. Susan Collins did nothing with her power to stop that from happening. And as we watch a deterioration in the material conditions that working people are living in, we are all down here looking for a different kind of politics. That was just not the case in 2020. And I think that's the huge shift. And then there's just something a little bit deeper, which is that at this point in the Trump era, you cannot be pro-Donald Trump and anti-Donald Trump at the same time. That's a needle that's impossible to thread. Everything is too extreme. Everything is too obvious and glaring. And that's the needle that she tries to thread. And you just can't do it. You come across as duplicitous. You come across as trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. And in this era with Donald Trump and Susan Collins's total inability to really stand up to him and hold him to any kind of account, people now see her, I think, as this kind of just establishment politician who doesn't really believe in anything and isn't willing to stand up to protect her constituents. And that's what's changed.
Democratic candidate for U.S. Senate in Maine, Graham Platner.
By the way, a lot of the anti-Graham Platner shit is going to go away because it's not viable, right? Like, this is like what happened with Zohran Mamdani after he won. Yes, there were some dead enders who were Zionists who were trying to like keep the flame alive. But now, I mean, there really isn't. It's not going to work. Everybody who tries to go after him is going to be coded as Republican. And the closer we get to November and the more shit Trump is doing, and when Trump is campaigning or speaking for Susan Collins or not speaking for Susan Collins, it's going to be clearer and clearer. A lot of the people that are speaking out against Graham Platner are going to be caught out over their skis. That's just what happens when you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Thank you very much. It's great to have you on. We'll see you once again soon.
And congratulations on the win last night.
Vice cabinet or something.
Thank you very
much. Good to have you.
All right.
Well, Graham Platner just published his very first general election ad.
Some of the most powerful Democrats and Republicans in the country were on Epstein Island. It seems the only thing the party establishments can agree on is a love of Jeffrey Epstein and a hatred of me. I'm Graham Platner, and I approve this message because together we will take back our government from the Epstein class. Some of the most powerful Democrats and Republicans in the country were on Epstein Island. It seems the only thing the party establishments can agree on is a love of Jeffrey Epstein and a hatred of me. I'm Graham Platner, and I approve this message because together we will take back our government from the Epstein class.
All right, everybody. Short, sweet, 15 seconds, and oh my Lord, you'll love to see it. Well, everybody, it is noon, and I'm going to call it there. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. We had a lot. We didn't get to some of the other things. I didn't get to talk about Ethan Klein suing iDubbz or the U.S. launching strikes. We had a panel, and then we talked about Graham Platner, and we watched a lot of Graham Platner shit. And by the way, like, listen, if you are one of those people that want to continue to attack Graham Platner, I think you're making a major mistake, both for your career and for political analysis. I think it's an embarrassment, and it is what it is. That's just my gentle advice. Well, thank you guys, gals, non-binary pals. We surged ahead We're now at 6,336 subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate all of you. Who am I going to send you to? I am going to send you over to my friend Freda, who's playing one of my favorite games of all time, Total War Rome 2. What would you guys play in Total War? Like which house? Were you a Scipii in, Broody in, or the only choice, Julii? You gotta be with the Julii, or as they were called, the Populares, aka, if you want to know the truth, chat, Julius Caesar was the Bernie Sanders of Rome. In a lot of ways, that's true. If you know, you know. Oh, at least a domestic populace, you know. Not necessarily. He was a little bit of an imperialist. But thanks so much for hanging out. I'll see you soon. Or maybe he was the Grand Platner of Rome. All right. Take it easy. Solidarity forever. Socialism will win. And I will see. Still a huge emperor. Actually, he was not emperor. He was dictator, which is not the same thing. All right, everybody. Solidarity forever. I'll see you soon. Socialism will win. And peace out.